Chapter 242. Chapter 242. Missing something, Sun Jingyi curled her lips, not believing Lin Yi's words. Lin Yi's skills were decent. That much Sun Jingyi believed. Even the heir of the Iron Fist House of Wu had fallen at Lin Yi's hands, and that was a testament to how skilled Lin Yi was. But as skilled as he was, Sun Jingyi didn't believe that Lin Yi's Uncle Master was the world's best thief. If he was, then Lin Yi wouldn't have been able to survive in a small city like Songshan. Wasn't he a bit too poor for that? Just how rich would the world's best thief have to be? His Uncle Master was a thief, but his master wasn't. What kind of weird sect was that? So Sun Jingyi took Lin Yi's words as a bluff. All right, if you're sure that you're willing to take half of the price, then I'll agree. Sun Jingyi said, but you can't go back on your word. Lin Yi frowned as he looked at the weird expression on Jingyi's face. He couldn't help but feel suspicious. Was there something wrong with this? But when he thought about it, there didn't seem to be anything wrong. Was the price the other party was offering really low? But that didn't seem possible. If the price wasn't high, why would Sun Jingyi come all the way here to look for him? Why would she offer him a high price? Lin Yi had a feeling that something was wrong here, but he couldn't quite put his finger on it. Hey, are you going to agree or not? Jingyi was starting to panic. Little handsome, you're younger than me, but you're a man. A man's words are like water that's been spilled, and a man's words are like spilled water. A gentleman's word is a promise. All right, I won't go back on my word. I'll take half of what the other party offers. Lin Yi felt a little helpless. He was indeed the one who said it. If he went back on his words, it wouldn't be right. All right, remember what you said. Sun Jingyi was a little excited. Lin Yi actually agreed. Let's go eat first. We'll talk while eating. I'll bring you to a good place. Looking at the incomparably excited Sun Jingyi, Lin Yi's heart sank. He increasingly felt that there was definitely a problem here. He didn't know what he had overlooked. However, since he couldn't figure it out, Lin Yi didn't bother thinking about it. At most, he would just waste this time. Stealing a piece of information wasn't a difficult task. Sun Jingyi's so-called good place turned out to be a food stall on the street, which made Lin Yi a little speechless. He thought that Sun Jingyi would invite him to some high-class hotel or something. Sun Jingyi parked the car in the free parking space on the side. In fact, it was on the roadside without a no parking sign. She got off the car with Lin Yi. It's this place. The authentic spicy skewers are very delicious. Lin Yi was a little speechless, but he really liked to eat this thing. Boss, give me a small basin. Sun Jingyi asked for a small basin from the boss of the spicy skewers with ease. Then she began to pick out the skewers from the cart. She said to Lin Yi while she was picking, "What do you like to eat? Take it yourself. After eating, we'll count the number of sticks together." Lin Yi smiled and began to fill the small basin with spicy skewers with Sun Jingyi. After a while, the basin was filled with spicy skewers. The two of them found an empty table and sat down. Sun Jingyi began to add seasoning to the spicy skewers. "Take the money! Take the money!" As soon as Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi sat down, several burly men came over and scolded the boss of the spicy skewers. "Brother Scar, didn't you just take the money a few days ago?" When the boss of the spicy skewers saw these people, his face suddenly changed, and he ran over with a smile. "A few days ago? It was Brother Nyo's mother's birthday a few days ago. You took the money as a gift. Today's is the protection fee." One of the men with a scar in a vest said impatiently, "This." The boss's expression froze. Although he knew that this guy might be lying, he had to lower his head when he was under someone else's roof. This scar-faced man was a gangster in this area, and he specialized in collecting protection fees from the food street. "Hurry up. Don't waste time. Do you want to quit? Let us brothers eat and drink here every day?" The scar-faced man threatened. As he said that, he casually picked up a spicy skewer from Lin Yi's table and put it into his mouth. Then he threw the signature on Lin Yi's table. "Hey, Don't throw your food here. You'll pay for it later. Lin Yi frowned and said to the scar-faced man, The scar-faced man was stunned. He didn't expect that this customer would dare to talk to him like this. He turned his head and was about to scold him. Suddenly, he saw Sun Jingyi with Lin Yi. He suddenly widened his eyes, and a lewd smile appeared on his face. Since that's the case, I'll treat you. Let's eat together. Brothers, bring the chairs over. After the scar-faced man finished speaking, he sat on a chair next to Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi. He looked at Sun Jingyi and said, Sister, I'll treat you. You can eat as much as you want. Let's drink some wine? Sun Jingyi frowned slightly. She didn't expect Lin Yi to cause so much trouble. Originally, these people came to collect protection fees. After collecting, they would leave. Even if they ate a spicy skewer, the boss would know in his heart. He definitely wouldn't count the bill. However, Lin Yi's words attracted such a disaster. Did I allow you to sit here? Do I know you? When Lin Yi saw this guy flirting with Sun Jingyi, he was immediately unwilling. No matter what, Sun Jingyi was also an employer who was going to give him money. You are flirting with her in front of me? What's more, although Lin Yi didn't want to be a busybody, this matter wasn't a busybody. This scar-faced man sat here because of his words. Of course, Lin Yi wouldn't spoil him. Who the F***ck are you? The scar-faced man turned his head and wanted to push Lin Yi. He had long seen that this kid was a hindrance. He was looking for a reason to make him give up his seat, and this reason came himself. Pa. The answer to the scar-faced man was a loud slap in the face. Lin Yi just beat So roaming in the morning. He didn't enjoy it very much. With Wang Jifeng around, he couldn't beat So roaming too seriously in public. But now he had no scruples. So, this slap made half of the scar-faced man's face like a steamed bun, and it instantly swelled up. I hate it when people scold my mother. Lin Yi didn't have a mother since he was a child, so it was a taboo for others to mention his mother. You dare to hit me? The scar-faced man looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. He could be said to be the master of this food street. Don't talk about being beaten. No one would even speak loudly. So, Lin Yi's slap stunned the scar-faced man. Get lost. Lin Yi looked at the scar-faced man with disdain. He looked down on people like the scar-faced man. Not only did he collect protection fees, but he also came out to flirt with women. Chapter 243. A strange condition. Bam. Sun Jingyi shrieked subconsciously. She'd brought Lin Yi here to discuss some serious business, but she hadn't expected to run into a bunch of hooligans. If Lin Yi was injured and had his head smashed open, who would help her steal the information? However, it was Scarface who had his head smashed open. The beer bottle had landed in Lin Yi's hands, but there was only half of it left. The other half had exploded on Scarface's head. Scarface was clearly a ruthless person. He didn't cry out even after being hit on the head by Lin Yi. Instead, it made him even more ruthless. He stood up coldly and glared at Lin Yi. Brother, what kind of gang do you hang out with? Don't you know that the North Market is under Scarface's protection? Did you come here to cause trouble? Scram. Lin Yi said the same word, but this time he did something else. He threw the skewer that Scarface had finished eating out of the table, stabbing it into the side of his face that didn't have a scar on it. It pierced a hole through the skin of Scarface's face. Ouch. Scarface howled in pain. The nerves in his face were quite dense, and having a hole in his cheek was naturally painful. He hadn't cried out when the beer bottle hit him, but this time he couldn't hold it in any longer. It was too painful. Scarface was a little frightened. The bamboo skewer was light, and Lin Yi had casually thrown it, and it had stabbed into his cheek. This wasn't something an ordinary person could do. Scarface was a little manly, though. He only cried out when the skewer stabbed into his cheek, but didn't cry out afterward. Gritting his teeth, he pulled the skewer out and looked at Lin Yi. Brother, I admit that I'm not as skilled as you, but you have to think of a way out. Don't push people too far. Who's your brother? I'm an orphan. Keep this up and I'll keep stabbing you. Lenny said casually, not even raising his head. He was looking down on Scarface. It's a small world. Let's wait and see. Scarface coldly snorted and left behind some ruthless words. If you have the guts, then wait here for me. If you want to call someone, then hurry up. I can't wait. I still have things to do after eating. If you don't come, then I'll leave. Lynn, he wasn't provoked at all. Scarface's provocation didn't work on him. Scarface's expression changed. He waved at the remaining three brothers and quickly left the stall. Brother Scarface, why don't you let us brothers go up? One of Scarface's lackeys called. Purple Hair asked. The other party is a tough opponent. He might be a martial artist. You guys will be at a disadvantage if you go up. Scarface was not stupid. Someone who can throw a bamboo skewer into my face is definitely not an ordinary person. When Scarface said this, Purple Hair and the others all nodded in agreement. That's right. Then what should we do? Should he just accept this loss like that? How are we going to survive in the food street in the future? Of course we can't just let it go like that. We'll go back and get Guang Bro to help us. Scarface said. Yes, get Guang Bro, and get Guang Bro to kill him. Purple Hair said excitedly. We'll go get Guang Bro right now. Sun Jingyi was shocked when she heard Lin Yi call himself an orphan. She didn't think that Lin Yi was an orphan. Of course, she didn't think that Lin Yi was joking. No one would joke about their background like that. Of course, this wasn't the only thing that shocked Sun Jingyi. Lin Yi's skills just now. She knew that Lin Yi was very fast. To be able to steal Wu Qintian's wallet, he had to be fast. But Lin Yi was also this fast when it came to fighting. She didn't even see how the bottle in Scarface's hand got into Lin Yi's hand before Scarface's head exploded, and that bamboo skewer could be used as a dart. What kind of person was this? She lowered her head and was about to ask Lin Yi if he knew Kung Fu when she saw that Lin Yi had already buried his head in a bowl of spicy skewers. Sun Jingyi was speechless. He had just beaten someone up. It was so bloody, and now he was eating as if nothing had happened. Oh, right. Let's talk about the information you asked me to steal. Lin Yi slowed down after eating more than 20 spicy skewers and said to Sun Jingyi, the other party is a trading company like us. We have similar projects, office supplies, and computers, Sun Jingyi explained when she heard Lin Yi's question. But one of our managers gave their supervisor a certain amount of rebates when negotiating with a big company. We don't know how this happened, but someone from the other company filmed it. And now they're using it to threaten our company. Oh, is that so? Doesn't their company do things like this? Lin, he asked as he took out another 2 spicy skewers. It's not a secret in the industry. If you want to get business, how can you not give the supervisor some benefits? They're doing it too, but we were filmed, Sun Jingyi said helplessly. What's the harm in exposing it? Lin Yi asked. We might be punished by the related departments. And of course, we'll lose that customer. He's a big customer of our company. Every year, he buys tens of millions of RMB worth of computers and related office equipment from us. If this is exposed, not only will he lose his position as a supervisor, he might even be held accountable by the company. Sun Jingyi said, the most important thing is which company would dare to work with us in the future. We might be exposed for taking rebates who would want to work with this kind of unsafe company. I'm afraid we'll have to close down. It's that serious? Lin Yi didn't know much about business, but after listening to Sun Jingyi's explanation, he understood the gist of it. Then what did the other party's company ask for? If they only wanted to attack you as a competitor, they would have released the video already. They wouldn't have waited until you asked me to steal it. That's right. Jingyi nodded. It's not good for us to announce it, but it's not good for them either. After all, it's not like we're the only 2 trading companies in Songsan. There's a lot of them. It's not like we're the only ones in Songsan. It's not like we'll be the ones losing our customers. Tell me their conditions. Lin, he was interested in this. Their condition is, the boss of that company wants me to be his mistress. Sun Jingyi said. Ha! Uff! Lin Yi spat out half a mouthful of spicy skewer. Ahem! What did you say? Their condition is for you to be his mistress? Chapter 244. What was he doing out here? Half of a lover. Lin Yi was speechless. There was a half of a lover? Yeah, we'll announce to the public that we're a couple, but in reality, I won't fulfill the obligations of a couple. Sun Jingyi nodded. From now on, you'll appear in front of my friends as my boyfriend. Lin Yi finally realized where he'd fallen into the trap. This trap was as big as it could get. Not only did he have to steal information for Sun Jingyi for free, he even had to pretend to be her boyfriend for free. Wasn't this too much of a deal? But he'd set the rules and payments. Who could he blame? No wonder he'd felt that something was off. Something was definitely off. You win. Lin Yi didn't want to go back on his words. He wasn't that shameless, and he had to keep his word. But the boss did all this just to make you his lover? That's right. I don't know. You can ask him if you don't believe me. Everyone in the industry knows that he has feelings for me. Sun Jingyi said, Isn't that Wu Qintian chasing after you? Why don't you ask him for help? Lin Yi asked. That Wu Qintian's nickname was Iron Fist Wu, and he was very skilled in martial arts. Stealing information shouldn't be a problem. I don't want to have too much to do with him. I don't have any feelings for him. Sun Jingyi shook her head. Are you going back on your word? Nope. Where's the information? I'll get it for you. Lin Yi saw that Sun Jingyi didn't want to talk about Wu Qintian, so he didn't ask. The information is at his lodging. We'll do it tonight. Sun Jingyi said, All right, tonight it is then. Lin Yi didn't really mind. I won't take half of the lover's payment. That won't do. Sun Jingyi refused flatly, shaking her head. I've told you many times before that you're going to take half of the other party's offer. You're very sure of it. And now you're going back on your word? I can't even take it. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. No, absolutely not. Sun Jingyi said, You help me. I pay you. It's only right and proper. All right. Lin Yi was a little helpless, but seeing that Sun Jingyi was so adamant, there was nothing he could do. After all, Lin Yi did agree to it. As the two of them were talking, they saw a group of gangsters running over. Scarface was among them. As he ran, he said to one of them, Brother Guang, it's him. It's this kid. He stopped me from collecting protection fees and even hit me. It had to be said that this Scarface's imagination was quite rich. He turned the ugly matter of him teasing Sun Jingyi into Lin Yi obstructing him from collecting protection fees and tricking his boss to come here to settle the matter. When the stall owner saw who it was, his face suddenly changed. He quickly reminded Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi, Little brother, you should run quickly. Brother Scarface called his boss over. He must be here to teach you a lesson. I haven't finished eating yet. If they want to come, let them come. Lin Yi didn't care at all. He was still eating the spicy skewers slowly. AI, the owner of the spicy skewers, sighed. Anyway, he had done his best. Since this person didn't listen, there was nothing he could do. He hoped that when Brother Guang came, he wouldn't implicate him. Hey, they have a lot of people. Do you have the confidence to settle it? Although Sun Jingyi felt that Lin Yi's skills were very good, after all, two fists couldn't fight four hands. With so many people coming to find trouble, could Lin Yi solve it? Are there a lot of people? Lin Yi put down the bamboo skewer in his hand. When he looked up, he was delighted. It was actually an acquaintance, and this acquaintance was clamoring at the moment. Who dares to cause trouble in the North District? Do you have no respect for my brother Guang's reputation? Scarface's boss walked over arrogantly and shouted into the spicy skewer stall. We meet again? Lin Yi smiled faintly. and looked at Brother Guang. People say that it takes 100 days to recover from a serious injury. Instead of lying down at home, you ran out here to become a cripple? When Brother Guang saw Lin Yi, his face suddenly changed. This Brother Guang was naturally the head of the North District's gangsters, So Ruoguang. He never thought that he would meet the person he met in the hospital a few days ago here again. In the hospital, Lin Yi's ruthlessness was still fresh in Zhou Ruoguang's memory. This kid was simply a violent maniac. When he abused people, he didn't even blink. He treated his wrist as a toy, pulling and pulling it several times. At that moment, Zhou Ruoguang's face was very ugly. Although he had a lot of underlings, he didn't dare to touch Lin Yi. He was actually very timid. He was afraid that once his underlings weren't a match for Lin Yi, his ending today would definitely be worse than the previous 2 days. Last time, he broke his wrist. This time, he might break his leg. Huh, it's this brother. Zhou Ruoguang laughed. He didn't dare to provoke Lin Yi for the time being, but he didn't want to lose face either. He could only pretend to be familiar with Lin Yi. It's really a case of water rushing against the Temple of the Dragon King. Family doesn't recognize family anymore. Scar, this brother definitely wouldn't stop you from collecting protection fees for no reason. Tell me the truth. What's going on? Actually, how could Zhou Ruoguang not know that Scarface was using this as a pretext? Scarface's underlings wouldn't be so loyal to Scarface. Zhou Ruoguang had heard about what happened before. As for why he still stood up for Scarface after knowing the situation, it was because Scarface was his underling. When his underling was bullied, he naturally had to stand up for him as the big brother. On the other hand, it was also because he was taught a lesson by Lin Yi over the weekend and didn't dare to fight back. His heart was depressed, so he wanted to teach others a lesson to vent his anger. In the end, he met Lin Yi here. Zhou Ruoguang secretly cursed his bad luck. Scarface was stunned. He didn't expect his boss to change his attitude the moment he came. He immediately realized that things weren't simple. He was the boss of the market nearby, so he naturally wasn't stupid. Brother Guang came to stand up for him, but his attitude towards Lin Yi was very good. This gave Scarface a bad feeling. Could it be that this person was really a ruthless person? Even the boss had to be respectful to him? I'm sorry, Brother Guang. I caused trouble. I just said a few words to this big brother's woman. Scarface didn't quibble. He knew that Brother Guang was going to punish him at this time. Pa, Zhou Ruoguang slapped him. Who asked you to be so cocky? Apologize now. I'm sorry. Scarface quickly apologized to Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi. All right, stop acting. I don't have time to watch you act. Lin Yi waved his hand impatiently. Boss Bill. Chapter 245. Chapter 245. You have too many troubles. Do I look like someone like him? Lin Yi pointed at Scarface, a little annoyed. He'd always had to pay for his meals, even if he didn't have to pay for them. He'd never dashed before. Of course not, bro. The owner's face froze. He hadn't expected his flattery to backfire. The guy didn't lack money at all, so he didn't have to pay. All right, I'll calculate how much it is. The owner didn't bother counting and just weighed the skewers on the table. There were about 100 of them. Let's make it 100. And I'll take 50 instead. Pay up. Lin Yi looked at Sun Jingyi. Sun Jingyi was a little taken aback. She'd thought that Lin Yi was going to treat them, but in the end, he was asking her to pay. The owner didn't know whether to laugh or cry. So, you're not the one paying? Then why are you asking your friend to spend more? Isn't this free of charge good enough? Sun Jingyi took out her wallet and handed a 50 kwai bill to the owner. She glared at Lin Yi before leaving the food stall with him. Scarface secretly cursed. This gigolo came out to be pretentious and spend a woman's money. He was really something. However, he only thought about it in his heart. How could he dare to offend someone that even his boss, Zhou Ruoguang didn't dare to offend. After Lin Yi left, Zhou Ruoguang looked at Scarface with a dark expression. It's all your fault. Damn it. I almost ended up in the hospital again. What's wrong? Scarface started. Not only did his brother not dare offend Lin Yi, he was actually scared of Lin Yi. Guang bro, is that kid strong? Strong? Look at how my hands were broken. Zhou Ruoguang shook his two hands wrapped in gauze. He broke them. Do you think you can afford to piss off a lunatic like that? He's ridiculously strong, and no matter how many people there are, there's still no match for him. Ah, so powerful? Scarface was stunned. Could this be the legendary martial arts master? Hurry up and go back. Don't embarrass yourself here. So Ruoguang was a little annoyed. Look carefully next time. Don't provoke such a tough guy. Yes, Brother Guang. Scarface was also very depressed. How would I know that this kid was so powerful? If I had known earlier, why would I have provoked him? Am I not sick? Sigh, what a femme fatale. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have flirted with Sun Jingyi, and I wouldn't have gotten myself into so much trouble after getting in the car. Sun Jingyi glared at Lin Yi with some reproach. You didn't pay the bill, and the boss waived the bill. Are you still unwilling? Those peddlers don't make much money. Lin Yi said. $50 is more or less the cost. HM? Sun Jingyi paused. She didn't think that much before, but now that she heard Lin Yi's words, it was true. If they had money, why would they work in a food stall under the hot sun? This made Sun Jingyi see Lin Yi in a new light. In actuality, Lin Yi only thought of Tang Yun's family and didn't want to take advantage of the spicy skewer owner. As for whether or not Scarface would continue to collect protection fees from him, that wasn't something Lin Yi could control. Everyone had their own lives, and Lin Yi couldn't just stick his nose into it. Where are you going, honey? Sun Jingyi backed out of the car and looked at Lin Yi gently. Honey. Lin Yi paused. Who are you talking to? I'm talking to you. You are my lover now. Although it's only half, I can still call you that. Sun Jingyi looked at Lin Yi with a smile that wasn't a smile. Why? Is it embarrassing for you to be in a relationship with a younger brother? Lin Yi was speechless. This girl seemed to be quite open-minded, but it didn't seem to be the case. Otherwise, she wouldn't have rejected the company's boss. However, why did she look for him? Did she think that he was easy to bully? Or did she think that he wouldn't do anything to her? Let me tell you, you are playing with fire here. What if one day I become real? Lin Yi warned Sun Jingyi. Okay. Sister also wants to see if we can develop feelings after a long time. Sun Jingyi looked at Lin Yi with a smile. It seemed that she didn't take Lin Yi's words seriously at all. Send me to the previous place. Lin Yi rolled his eyes and ignored her. Songshan First High School. Sun Jingyi was a bit strange. Why are you still going to the previous place? Why are you asking so much? Lin Yi frowned. Do you not want me to help you tonight? Tisk, I'm already your lover. You have already received the payment. If you don't want to help me, then don't help me. Sun Jingyi shrugged indifferently. Pick me up there at night. After this, we don't owe each other anymore. Lin Yi didn't want to have too much to do with Sun Jingyi. Although this woman was beautiful and had the kind of mature temperament that Tang Yun, Meng Yao, and Yushu didn't have, Lin Yi's intuition told him that this woman was very troublesome. If he got involved with her, he would definitely be in trouble in the future. Today, she made him become a great thief. Tomorrow, would he kill people and rob them? Thinking about it, it was very possible. From that Wu Qintian, he could infer that Sun Jingyi's family was definitely not simple. Otherwise, she wouldn't be friends with the Iron Fist Wu family. Although he didn't know why Sun Jingyi didn't use the power of her family to solve the problem in front of her, but this kind of trouble caused by a princess of a noble family was definitely troublesome. Lin Yi didn't want to solve her problems professionally. Hey, how can you be like this? Don't want to take responsibility? Sun Jingyi listened to Lin Yi and looked at Lin Yi with a hidden bitterness in her eyes. Lover, not wife yet, so you can break up at any time. Lin Yi said faintly, I'm telling you now, you are dumped by me. In the future, you won't be. Sun Jingyi looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. She was a great beauty. She was in front of him, and he wasn't moved. At least there was a line of people chasing after her. Even if she didn't really become his lover, a fake lover could satisfy his vanity. With a beauty by his side, he would always be envied by others. Are you really not interested in my sister? Sun Jingyi couldn't help but ask. Yes, Lin Yi said straightforwardly. Ah. Sun Jingyi thought that Lin Yi would definitely say no, but she didn't expect Lin Yi to say yes. This surprised her a little, and she was a little confused. Then why are you still dumping me? Chapter 246. Chapter 246. The perfect candidate, this Sun Jingyi, on the other hand, seemed to be even more troublesome than Lingshan. At the very least, Lingshan was more straightforward. While Sun Jingyi was too much of a liar, Sun Jingyi exploded at Lin Yi's words. There were so many people lining up to help her out, like Wu Qintian, who she'd ignored before coming to Lin Yi. And now he was calling her troublesome? Fine, I don't care. I'll come to you if I need anything in the future. Sun Jingyi said shamelessly. Lin Yi didn't say anything else. Go find him if you want to. It'd depend on my mood whether I came or not. He told Sun Jingyi to drop him off at the food street behind the school and waited for Sun Jingyi's car to leave before Lin Yi turned back to school. Pinliang, accompanied by his lawyer, met Heibao Bro at the designated hospital in Songshan's detention center. Heibao Bro! Pinliang couldn't help but be shocked when he saw the bandages all over Heibao Bro's body. Heibao smiled bitterly, not expecting to be crippled as a golden-class late-phase peak. His meridians were all severed, and he was lying on a hospital bed in a state worse than death. Heibao wasn't in the detention center right now, so there were no police officers in the room other than the lawyer. Fabai could handle things like this, and it wasn't hard for him to meet Heibao alone. Master Zhong, you're here? Heibao looked at Pinliang, a trace of sadness on his face. I underestimated my enemy. I didn't expect that Lin Yi to be this strong. He's the same as me, a golden-class late-phase peak. What? He's a golden-class late-phase peak? Fabai paused, looking at Heibao in disbelief. Heibao, are you telling the truth? Boss, why would I lie to you about something like this? Heibao smiled bitterly. So, boss, young Master Zhong, I advise you not to touch Lin Yi before you have absolute certainty. You are not his match. Although Heibao's words weren't very pleasant, they were still harsh to the ear. Fabai and Pinliang understood this principle. They were no match for Lin Yi. On the other hand, Fabai didn't care much. Lin Yi didn't have much of a relationship with him, so he didn't care if he attacked Lin Yi or not. Pinliang's expression, however, changed drastically. He saw Lin Yi as an opponent that he had to eliminate in this life. Although Zhou Ruoming was the one who had humiliated him that night, it was Lin Yi who had caused it. Pinliang clenched his fists at the memory. Heibao Bro, you have no idea how much humiliation I went through that day. It wasn't any worse than yours. Huh? Master Zhong, do you really want to get rid of Lin Yi? Heibao Bro smiled suddenly, looking at Pinliang strangely. Of course I do. Heibao Bro, do you have any good ideas? Pinliang knew that Heibao Bro had a plan when he saw his smile. Yes, but... Heibao Bro looked at the people in the room, hesitating. You can leave first. Zhong Fabai waved his hand at the lawyer. The lawyer was the only outsider here. Although he had always been working for Zhong Fabai, what Heibao wanted to say must be extremely secretive, so the fewer people who knew, the better. Yes, boss. The lawyer naturally didn't say much. He worked for Fabai, and he knew very well that he didn't listen to things he shouldn't hear, and he didn't ask about things he shouldn't know. After the lawyer left the room, Heibao's face turned serious. Master Zhong, the only way to get revenge on Lin Yi is to increase your strength. Increase your strength beyond the peak of the late phase of the golden class. That's the only way to kill him. Otherwise, golden class late phase peak isn't something that can be taken down by a group of people. If a group of normal gangsters were to gang up on him, they would just be asking for death. Increase my strength? Pin Liang blinked. Heibao bro, you're saying that I can increase my strength to the peak late phase golden class or even higher? That's right. Heibao nodded. But if you gain something, you have to lose something. Once you practice our sex arts, you can't touch women anymore, or you'll lose your life. Ah, I can't touch women anymore? Pin Liang paused. Fuck, I'm killing Lin Yi because he's a stumbling block in my pursuit of Meng Yao. What's the point of killing Lin Yi if I can't even touch a woman? Pin Liang thought. Yes, Heibao said. Back then, I couldn't stand the ascetic life of training, and that's why I ran away from my sect. I didn't make much of a difference, and what I brought out was just a short-term art to increase a person's strength, allowing a normal person to quickly reach the late phase golden class. I, on the other hand, had some martial arts foundation, so I reached the peak late phase golden class. If you're already a peak late phase golden class, you can use this art to get to the early phase, or even the mid phase. This art can only be used under special circumstances, and it only lasts for a month or two. After that, you'll drop back to your previous strength and lose 5 years of your lifespan. It's useless unless it's a critical moment. Master Zhong, even if you reach the peak late phase golden class like me, you still won't be able to kill Lin Yi. Ah, but you want me to not touch women. Pin Liang felt that if he couldn't touch women, what was the point of his life? After practicing the art that Heibao Bro told him about, killing Lin Yi would be easy, but his life would be in danger. Wasn't that too dangerous? Master Zhong, that's all I have to say. I've received a huge favor from my boss back then, so I'm telling you this before I go to jail. I can't interfere with your decision. Heibao said, if you've thought it through, go to Spring Star Mountain. Tell him that Heibao introduced him to my big senior brother, who's now the sect master. I'm just an abandoned disciple, but he'll give me face. Spring Star Mountain? What kind of mountain is that? Pin Liang paused. Geography wasn't his forte, but he'd never heard of this mountain, let alone any sects on it. I'll draw a detailed map for you, Heibao said. Of course, if you have someone you can trust, you can ask him to go in your place. When he returns, he'll be able to help you kill Lin Yi and avenge me. I'm only saying this because I hope that you can avenge me, Master Zhong. Someone I can trust? Pin Liang frowned as he thought of someone. That's right, he could ask him to go. Pin Liang suddenly thought of Zhang Naipeo. Chapter 247. Learning in the mountains, Pin Liang raised his head to look at Fabai, and their eyes met. Fabai seemed to have thought of someone as well. Pin Liang, you want Zhang Naipeo to go? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I've decided to go talk to him. Pin Liang didn't hide it. Naipeo's been with me for years, and I know him. We helped his family get through this. So, it shouldn't be a problem if I let him go. All right, go talk to him then. Fabai was moved as well. If his son could have a master at the peak of the late phase of the golden class, then the Zhong family wouldn't have to rely on the Jin family to survive in Songshan City. He wouldn't have to be restricted by his brother-in-law. At that time, the Zhong family would have a master, and they would have the right to speak in the upper class. Zhong Fabai suddenly had expectations. Thinking of this, Fabai thought that his son had done a smart thing, which was to win over the hearts of his subordinates and cultivate an absolute confidant. If Heibao was Fabai's confidant, then Zhang Naipeo was Pin Liang's confidant. Heibao wouldn't have been able to share so many secrets with him if he wasn't his confidant. After getting the map of Spring Star Mountain, Fabai sent Pin Liang back to school, leaving the lawyer to figure out how to lighten Heibao's punishment. Heibao had injured a police officer and then escaped. His punishment wouldn't be light either. Pin Liang had a depressed look on his face on the way to Heibao Bro, but his face was filled with joy and excitement on the way back to school. As long as he followed Heibao Bro's advice, Naipeo would be able to learn martial arts in the mountains, and he wouldn't have to be afraid of Lin Yi anymore. He'd be able to kill Lin Yi in one hit. Ha ha! What a great feeling that would be. Just thinking about it made him excited. Helping Naipeo's family was the best thing he'd ever done. Pin Liang didn't want to help Naipeo. He was afraid that he wouldn't get anything out of it. But now it was all worth it. Pin Liang called Naipeo outside the classroom as soon as he got back to school. Naipeo, come with me. I need to talk to you. Liang Bro. Naipeo was getting more and more respectful towards Pin Liang these days. Not only did Pin Liang give his family 700,000, but he'd also give his father another 300,000 to restart his business. Naipeo was very grateful. His family would have been done for him if it weren't for Pin Liang. His father would have been forced to commit suicide, and his brother would have been forced to sell his kidney. How would he and his mother survive? Pin Liang, on the other hand, had helped them change everything, and so Naipeo thanked his boss from the bottom of his heart. He felt like he hadn't followed Pin Liang for nothing. He quickly followed Pin Liang out of the classroom. Liang Bro, what's up? Pow, Naipeo, Pin Liang said. Pow, pow. Pin Liang, Naipeo, Pin Liang, Liang. Poff of paw pow with Pin Liang said. Pow, Pin Liang, the first class, the afternoon. At. Of. Pin Liang. Go. Go of the Yun of Lin. Of. In. Of in Pin. Pento the school ching. Pin Liang frowned when he saw that someone was there, but Naipeo understood immediately. Clear the place. Clear the place. Everyone get out. Liang Bro needs to use the washroom. These people were gangsters in the school, but they were a far cry from the Big Four. Pin Liang might have been beaten up a couple of times by Lin Yi and wasn't as popular as he used to be, but these gangsters still didn't dare mess with him. They all smiled and backed out of the washroom when they saw Pin Liang. Liang Bro, is there something you need to talk to me about? Naipeo wasn't an idiot. Pin Liang wouldn't ask him to go to the washroom with him for no reason. Pow, you've been with me for a long time. There's something I need your opinion on. Pin Liang said, after some hesitation. What's the matter, Liang Bro? Just say it. Why do you need my opinion? Your opinion is my opinion. Naipeo said straightforwardly. All right. Pin Liang nodded as he took out a pack of cigarettes, giving one to Naipeo before putting one in his mouth. I didn't make you my brother for nothing, but I still need to talk to you about this. It's a big deal, after all. Go ahead, Liang Bro. Naipeo took out his lighter and lit up the cigarette for Pin Liang before lighting his own. Pow, here's a chance for you to become a woolly master. Are you willing? Pin Liang said in a low voice. Become a woolly master? Naipeo blinked. You're not joking, are you, Liang Bro? Do I look like I'm joking? Pin Liang said. Pow, you know Heibao Bro, right? You saw the news about him escaping from the police, right? His strength increased all of a sudden, and he was able to escape even when surrounded by the police. Do you know why? Could it be that Heibao Bro is a woolly master? Naipeo said, subconsciously. That's right. There's a secret art in his sect that can increase strength quickly, but it's flawed. There's a time limit, and you'd have to pay the price of your lifespan. It's not very good. Pin Liang said, Liang Bro, you're asking me to learn this secret art? Naipeo misunderstood Pin Liang's word. He thought that he was asking him to learn the art. It's just a few years of lifespan, no problem. Liang Bro, if it weren't for you, my dad and brother would have been done for, and I wouldn't even be able to live. Pow, you misunderstand. I'm not asking you to learn this flawed art. I'm asking you to go up the mountain and learn martial arts, join Heibao Bro's sect, and become a truly master. Pin Liang said with a wave of his hand. But it'll be a tough process, according to Heibao Bro. It'll be like a monk, and you won't be able to get close to women. If you're willing, Heibao Bro can introduce you to him. Learn martial arts? Nai Peo didn't quite understand, but he agreed without hesitation. Liang Bro, if you want me to learn martial arts, then I'll do it. What's so great about being an ascetic? The only thing Zhang Nai Peo, want in this life is to repay the kindness you've done for my family. Liang Bro, as long as you give me that chance, I'll die even if you want me to, let alone be an ascetic. Chapter 248. Meng Yao was pissed. She was pissed. Very pissed. Wasn't Miss Lin way too good at causing trouble, holding Tang Yun's hand and announcing that she was his woman in school? Did he even put her, the miss, in his eyes? Didn't he know that he was her follower and shield? If Tang Yun was his woman, then what was she? How was she supposed to use him as a shield? She couldn't just tell people that she was his concubine. Could she? Are you jealous, Yao Yao? Why else would you be so angry? Yushu waved her hand in front of Meng Yao's eyes. Me? Jealous? I'm angry that he's not a good follower. He's supposed to be my shield, but he's hitting on girls. How is he supposed to be my shield now? Meng Yao, naturally, didn't think that she was being jealous. Jealous of Lin Yi? How was that possible? Oh, it's fine. You can say that you're his concubine. Yushu said, Concubine? Shu, you want me to be his concubine? Meng Yao's eyes widened in anger. Was she trying to comfort her or piss her off? What's wrong with being a concubine? I've always thought that I'd be someone's concubine in the future, and you're the main wife, and I'm the concubine. Now, you're the concubine number 1, and I'm the concubine number 2. There's not much of a difference. Yushu said nonchalantly, Shu, I really don't know what to say to you. What's going on in that head of yours? Is being someone's concubine fun? Meng Yao was speechless. Her best friend's train of thought wasn't normal. She shouldn't talk to her when she was angry, or she'd get angrier and angrier until she died. Oh, it's pretty fun. Yushu flipped through the English book in front of her, bored. Yao Yao, there's a test in the afternoon. I'm going to study first. Meng Yao only remembered that there was an English test after Yushu's reminder. She had no choice but to take out her book, but she'd made up her mind to talk to Lin Yi. If he kept this up, she'd cut his salary. Meng Yao realized, tragically, that the only thing she could threaten Lin Yi with was his pay. There didn't seem to be anything else that could restrain him. After school, Meng Yao received a text that made her even angrier. Lin Yi texted her, saying that he had something to do tonight and would be home later. This pissed Meng Yao off. Shu, look at this Lin Yi guy. He's coming back a little late at night. Do you think he went on a date with Tang Yun? It should be Yao Yao sis. Yushu wanted to see the world in chaos. Meng Yao gritted her teeth as she replied to Lin Yi. If you dare come back late, I'll deduct a month's salary from you. Lin Yi looked at the message in his hand and felt a headache coming on. A month's salary would be deducted for one night out? Isn't this a little too ridiculous? Lin Yi smiled bitterly as he dialed Meng Yao's number. What's up? Meng Yao coldly picked up the phone. Miss, I really have something to do tonight. Lin Yi didn't know what was going on with Meng Yao. What is it? A date with Tang Yun? Meng Yao retorted. Lin Yi, can you mind your image? You're my shield. Even if you want to chase girls, can't you do it in private? You've caused a storm in the city. Everyone knows about you and Tang Yun. How can I use you as a shield? Lin Yi froze for a moment before he realized that the miss was angry because of this. No wonder she was so angry. Yao Yao, I'm not going on a date tonight. I'm going to help a friend. Lin Yi explained. What friend? What kind of help? Meng Yao asked. It's that Sun Jingyi that I met at the bar the other day. She asked me to do something for her. She wants to pay me. Lin Yi purposely added the word pay to prevent Meng Yao from thinking that he was flirting with other girls. I don't care if you pay me or not, as long as they don't come looking for you. Meng Yao didn't want Lin Yi to go looking for Sun Jingyi, but she couldn't find a reason to stop him. She didn't know why she was angry. Maybe it was because she was afraid that those girls would come looking for her and affect her plan? And that must be it. As long as he didn't bring those girls to school, he could do whatever he wanted. Meng Yao hung up the phone after she finished talking. Lin Yi shook his head. Did she let him go or not? Was his salary still going to be deducted? Lin Yi went to the food street behind the school and bumped into Tang Yun. Tang Yun was helping her mother after school. There was Kong Xiaobo and Lu Xinwen at the hospital. Tang Yun didn't need her help. Tang Yun jumped when she saw Lin Yi following her. She was embarrassed and didn't know what to do. However, there was a hint of joy in her heart. What happened today had spread throughout the school, but for some reason, Tang Yun wasn't as angry as she was when the love letter incident happened. Last time was a rumor, but this time it was a fact. Tang Yun thought that it was probably like that. But was it really like that? Tang Yun shook her head. In her heart, she didn't reject Lin Yi anymore. On the contrary, when she was with him, she felt an inexplicable excitement and throbbing. Was she really in love at such a young age? What are you doing here? Tang Yun lowered her head. She didn't dare to look at Lin Yi. I'm waiting for a friend. She needs my help. Lin Yi paused. So I came to see you on the way. Tang Yun was a bit disappointed when she heard the first half of Lin Yi's sentence. So he didn't come to see her. But when she heard the second half, it was as if she had eaten honey. It was a sweet feeling. Oh, Tang Yun blushed. She felt complicated. Did she fall for him just like that? Don't. Your family's business is pretty busy. If you can't do it, you should hire a helper, Lin Yi said as he looked at Mrs. Tang's barbecue stand. It was already surrounded by students. Yeah, Mom said that if we keep this busy, we'll hire someone, Tang Yun said. Tang Yun was grateful to Lin Yi. If it wasn't for him, her family's business wouldn't be this popular. But thinking about their relationship, was this a way to repay him? Tang Yun didn't dare think about it anymore. Her heart was getting more and more confused. I'll go help my mom first with that. Tang Yun turned around and left, ignoring Lin Yi. Looking at Tang Yun's back, Lin Yi fell into a daze for a moment. This kind of life was great. But as soon as he closed his eyes, that pair of resentful eyes pierced into Lin Yi's heart again. Chapter 249. Is there something wrong with your brain? Lin Yi had been waiting for 10 minutes when Sun Jingyi arrived. I thought you weren't coming, so I was getting ready to go home. Lin Yi lazily opened the car door and got in. There was a traffic jam on the way, and it's rush hour. Sun Jingyi said apologetically, Little hubby, let's go get something to eat first. Who's your hubby? Lin Yi frowned. Is there something wrong with your brain? Don't call me that. Did I agree to it? Why was this girl so clingy? It was fine if Meng Yao heard it. She'd just throw a tantrum. But if Tang Yun heard it, she'd think that something was wrong with him. The worst part was that he could do something with Sun Jingyi, since Lin wasn't someone who was afraid of trouble. The problem was that there was nothing going on between him and Sun Jingyi. Wouldn't it be unfair if he were to carry the title of Sun Jingyi's hubby? He'd have to help her solve the problem for free. I'm your lover now. Why aren't you going to admit it? Sun Jingyi giggled. You said it yourself. A gentleman keeps his word. Lin Yi shut his mouth. He was the one who'd said it. And so he'd kept his promise to help Jingyi deal with the problem. Although keeping his promise was one thing, it was normal for him to grumble a little. I'll admit it, but don't call me hubby from now on. It makes me nervous. Nothing good will come out of it. Lin Yi shrugged. Sure, I'll call you that when something good happens. Sun Jingyi said, taking advantage of the situation. Whatever. Lin Yi didn't want to say anything. To be honest, Sun Jingyi was really pretty. If it weren't so troublesome, Lin Yi would have been willing to flirt with her, but she was a pain in the ass. Let's skip the meal. Where are we going to steal the information? Let's get this over with. Going now might be a little troublesome. Jingyi looked at the time on the dashboard. According to the people I sent to keep an eye on them, Tong Tian from the Tong Tian Trading Company brought his mistress back to his place. They're probably in the middle of it right now, so it's not a good idea for you to make a move. I'd like to wait until they're asleep before you make your move. It's nothing, Lin Yi said indifferently. I'm stealing, not you. Hurry up. I have something to do tonight. All right. Since Lin Yi had said so, Sun Jingyi didn't say anything else. She drove to Zhang Tongtian's residence. It had to be said that the name Zhang Tongtian was very impressive. It was as if his hands and eyes were everywhere. Zhang Tongtian lived in a high-end villa district. Every house had its own independent villa. It could be seen that Zhang Tongtian's company was indeed very profitable. People who did business usually had some connections. If they didn't, they wouldn't be able to do it. When Sun Jingyi drove into the community, the security guard let her go without much questioning. She was driving a red Audi A4L. Although it wasn't a particularly luxurious car, it was a favorite of many girls, and there were many of them in the community. She stopped near a 3-story villa. Sun Jingyi pointed to the villa and said, "It's there. The video is saved in a silver DV. Look for it. It should be in his handbag. He is also very careful about this kind of thing. He won't let others keep it." Lin Yi nodded and got out of the car. "Wait for me here." "How do you get in?" Sun Jingyi was about to ask Lin Yi how to get inside the wall of the villa, but she saw that Lin Yi had already climbed over the wall and entered the villa. Could it be that he was really a great thief? Sun Jingyi blinked. This man surprised her more and more. Not only was he good at martial arts, but he was also very agile. Why would such a person come to Songshan? Sun Jingyi was guessing how Lin Yi would enter the villa. She saw that Lin Yi had already climbed the wall of the villa like a spider and entered the villa from an open window on the 2nd floor. Sun Jingyi couldn't believe it. He climbed in just like that. In fact, this was a piece of cake for Lin Yi. Heibao could jump directly to the 2nd floor, so could Lin Yi. However, Lin Yi didn't want to expose too much of his strength in front of Sun Jingyi. So he chose to climb up. This way, people who were good at martial arts could do it. This was the living room on the 2nd floor. The lights were on in the living room, but there was no one there. Not far from the left, there was a bedroom with a half-open door. There were sounds of a man and a woman having sex. Lin Yi didn't pay attention to them for now. He began to look for the DV camera that Sun Jingyi mentioned. However, Lin Yi didn't casually look through it. Instead, he looked around the living room. Maybe it was because Zhang Tongtian was in a hurry to hug his mistress after returning home. His clothes and handbag were all thrown on the sofa in the corner of the living room. Or maybe he didn't even think that someone would climb into the living room at this time. It was only 7 o'clock at night. It wasn't the time for thieves to appear. Lin Yi didn't have to rummage around much before pulling out a small silver DV from the bag on the sofa. It was an HD1, too. Turning off the audio, Lin Yi turned on the DV. Sure enough, the picture showed a coffee shop. A man was handing a bank card to another man and saying something. The picture was very clear. It should be at a table not far away, but it didn't attract the attention of these two people. Presumably, these two people wouldn't have thought that their numerous transactions would be recorded. Lin Yi turned off the DV, pulled out the memory card, and stuffed it into his pocket. He was about to put the DV back in his handbag and leave when he suddenly found that there was a spare memory card in his handbag. Was there a backup? Lin Yi inserted the spare memory card into the DV, but found that he had overestimated Zhang Tongtian's IQ. This memory card was blank, and there was no information in it. It should have been given to him by the seller when he bought the DV. Zhang Tongtian didn't care about it and put it in his bag. However, now that he had a blank memory card, Lin Yi's wicked idea popped up again. Lin Yi took the DV to the door of Zhang Tongtian's room and filmed the room for a while. Lin Yi didn't dare to compliment Zhang Tongtian's figure, but his lover wasn't bad. It was just that Lin Yi wasn't interested in such a woman. After recording a video of Zhang Tongtian, Lin Yi put the DV into Zhang Tongtian's handbag and disappeared from the window on the second floor. Done? So fast? Sun Jingyi didn't expect Lin Yi to come out so quickly. She was a little surprised. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. This wasn't challenging at all. It was already slow enough. If it weren't for the fact that he had nothing better to do, he would have come out a long time ago after filming Zhang Tongtian with his DV. Chapter 250. Plot. Sun Jingyi was speechless. You still have time to play with his camcorder? Aren't you afraid of being found out? Are you sure it's this memory card? Sun Jingyi asked worriedly. I'm sure. Lin Yi said lazily. It was recorded in a coffee shop. I've already checked it. Sun Jingyi relaxed after hearing Lin Yi's words. Thank you, little hubby. Big sis will give you a kiss as a reward. With that, Sun Jingyi made a pouting expression and feigned a kiss in the air. Smack. Sun Jingyi was taken aback. She'd clearly feigned a kiss in the air, so how did she end up kissing something? She didn't know when Lin Yi had moved his face closer. You. Sun Jingyi cursed at Lin Yi's shamelessness inwardly. She'd only feigned a kiss, and he'd taken the initiative to move closer. What about me? Lin Yi touched the spot on his face where Sun Jingyi had kissed him, a wicked smile on his face. Don't think that I'm harmless in the future. I'll respond appropriately if you try to flirt with me again. Lin Yi was getting a little pissed off by Sun Jingyi. You can't keep bringing up that half-lover thing again and again. Can you? If you're so willing to talk about it, then fine. I'll fulfill your wish. It's half-lover, after all. There's no special boundary for that half. Even if we don't sleep together, a kiss should be fine, right? You. Sun Jingyi didn't know what to say. It was true that she'd only teased Lin Yi because he didn't look that old and didn't think he was a match for her. If it were any other dangerous man, Sun Jingyi wouldn't have played these childish tricks. She'd only get herself into trouble. According to Jingyi's estimations, Lin Yi was a little boy who hadn't experienced the world of worldly affairs. He was a little strong, but he must have been under his master's closed-door training. He didn't know much about the outside world. And so Jingyi was confident that she could use her beauty to charm Lin Yi into working for her. But she hadn't expected Lin Yi to make the first move. Just when Sun Jingyi was about to say something, Lin Yi's next move caught her off guard. Lin Yi suddenly reached out and pinched Sun Jingyi's beautiful jaw. It was a frivolous and slightly insulting gesture. It was like something a bully would do to a girl in a drama. She'd never been treated in such a manner before. Sun Jingyi was a little nervous, even afraid. What do you want to do? Sun Jingyi was a little panicked. Nothing good would come out of this kind of action. Half-lover, I'll come and collect this revenge any time. Lin Yi let go of his hand at this moment. Think carefully before you ask me to do something next time. I'll continue to collect payment. At that time, half-lover will become the whole lover. If Lin Yi didn't teach her a lesson, this girl would open a dye shop. Lin Yi didn't bother with her before, but this girl was a little too much. Lin Yi couldn't bear it anymore. He could put up with Meng Yao and Yushu at home because it was his job, but Jingyi, a complete stranger. Did this girl really think that she was that attractive? Did she really think that she was invincible? Sun Jingyi felt wronged. She'd never been humiliated like this before. Even Wu Tai's-ho didn't dare to say some frivolous words. Although Zhang Tongtian coveted him, he wouldn't use force. For this kind of thing, coercion and temptation were one thing, but using force was another. No matter how powerful Zhang Tongtian was, he didn't want to be imprisoned. Zhang Tongtian didn't want to be imprisoned. However, this guy, Lin Yi, actually stole her first kiss. Although it wasn't on his mouth, it was still on his face. This made Sun Jingyi feel wronged. However, even if Sun Jingyi felt wronged, she could only bear it silently. She knew very well that all of this was caused by herself. This was the logic of playing with fire. Seeing that Sun Jingyi had finally settled down, Lin Yi couldn't be bothered with her anymore. It'd be best if she didn't come looking for him in the future. He was very busy, and every time she asked him to do some low-tech things, Lin Yi always felt that it was a little unfair to his martial arts. He'd accept it if Sun Jingyi really was his wife. The problem was that she wasn't, and she was still trying to play tricks on him. Lin Yi decided to help her this time out of respect for their acquaintance, but the next time would depend on her sincerity. Naturally, Lin Yi wouldn't let Sun Jingyi send him to the villa area. Instead, he sent him to a bus stop near the villa area. Sun Jingyi gritted her teeth, looked at Lin Yi angrily, and drove away. "Dad, Peng Zhan's been retracting his power these days. This isn't good for us." A young man with glasses said carefully in front of a middle-aged man. The middle-aged man was Jin Gubong, Fabai's brother-in-law. He was the biggest shareholder of Peng Zhan Industries after Peng Zhan. This young man was his son and secretary, Jin Maosheng. "I know, Zhang Yuchu got me a bunch of trash. Otherwise, the company would have lost at least 200 million. Peng Zhan was the one who signed the contract, and no matter what, his reputation in the board of directors is at rock bottom." Jin Gubong said, a little hatefully, "They don't even know how to kidnap a girl. I don't know if these people eat shit or not. They can't even handle a small bodyguard." "Yeah, but that Lin Yi bastard's really despicable, too. I bribed the electrician from the company to create an accident for Peng Zhan in the parking lot so he'd end up in the hospital for a while. But that Lin Yi ruined it all." Mao Sheng said hatefully, "You're still talking about it? Who told you to act so recklessly? If something happens to Peng Zhan in the company, the police's first suspect would be an insider." Gubong glared at his son. "Do you have a brain? How could you do something so reckless?" "Dad, that electrician's gone forever." Mao Sheng explained carefully. "Humph, I'm not saying you're wrong, but don't do it in the company next time." Gubong humphed coldly. "By the way, did that cousin of yours get Meng Yao or not?" "I don't think so." Mao Sheng said, "Dad, I don't think Uncle has any good intentions. If Pin Liang really is with Meng Yao, we'll be able to control Peng Zhan Industries in a roundabout way. But wouldn't Uncle's family be taking advantage of that too? He's an outsider. After all, there's no guarantee he won't betray us in the future." Chapter 251. Something happens to her. Looks like we need to hurry up. Give Zhang Yuzhou a call and tell him to do whatever it takes to cause some trouble. It'd be best if something happens to that Meng Yao girl, so that Peng Zhan won't be able to focus on the company. Give me some time, and I'm confident that I'll be able to take control of the company and get the other shareholders to support me." Gubong said after some thought. He'd made up his mind this time. Peng Zhan was starting to get suspicious and was starting to put his guard up against him. The company's power was shrinking as well, and it wouldn't be good for Gubong if this continued. "All right, Dad, I'll contact Zhang Yuzhou right away and have him do something." Mao Sheng nodded. "Be careful of that Lin Yi. That kid's ruined our plans twice already." Gubong reminded, "We need to think of a way to get the best of both worlds this time." Mao Sheng was thinking of a way to make Meng Yao get into an accident. He was even more vicious than his father, and he liked using accidents to solve problems. Just like that time when the chandelier fell from the parking lot of Peng Zhan Industries, he'd wanted to use accidents to get rid of Peng Zhan. The electrician who'd done the job had been electrocuted after that. Mao Sheng was a ruthless man, and as for kidnapping Meng Yao, he hadn't approved of it in the first place. As far as he was concerned, killing Meng Yao would throw Peng Zhan into chaos, and he wouldn't be able to focus on managing the company at all. House Jean would be able to take over the chairman's position in one fell swoop. He walked out of his father's room and called Zhang Yuzhou's number. This Zhang Yuzhou was Zihua's underling, and Mao Sheng wanted to talk to Zihua directly, but he knew that he didn't have the right to do so. House Jean wasn't enough to enter the eyes of the person behind Zihua. Everything he was doing now was just to pave the way for Master Bing's company to expand in Songshan after House Jean took control of Pengzhan Industries. Otherwise, that person wouldn't even care about their own power struggles. The price House Jean had to pay for taking control of the company was to give their real estate business to Master Bing, the bastard son of that person. Pengzhan Industries was involved in trade, real estate, department stores, hotels, entertainment, and clothing manufacturing. Although it would be a loss to cede the real estate business, it was nothing compared to becoming the real boss of Pengzhan Industries. He was the son of a shareholder of Pengzhan Industries, and yet he was nothing in that person's eyes. Mao Sheng felt a wave of sadness wash over him. Was that house really that strong? Young Master Jean, what's the matter? Yuchu was quite pissed at the Jean father-son duo. Their last mission had failed entirely because Gubong hadn't investigated the people around Mengyao, resulting in such a huge loss. And now they were saying that their men weren't good enough. This pissed Yuchu off. He was Zihua Bro's man, after all, and he wasn't someone Gubong could scold as he pleased. Mao Sheng was getting a little pissed off at Yuchu's voice. It wasn't like they weren't paying a price for it. They'd even given away the company's real estate business. That was a branch company worth 300 to 400 million. If he wanted to set up a new branch company, the price he had to pay was not small. How could the price of transferring the entire branch company be small? Mr. Zhang, I hope that you can understand that we are in a cooperative relationship, not a subordinate relationship. If this is done well, Master Bing will get what he wants. And so, well, Mao Sheng wasn't a pushover, after all. He was a lot tougher than his father, and he'd been the one who'd instigated this whole usurpation. But if it fails, I won't lose anything, but we'll keep it the way it is now. House Jean is still a shareholder of Pengzhan Industries, but will Master Bing let you go? Yuchu's heart skipped a beat. Why hadn't he thought of this before? He'd been a little annoyed at House Jean for blaming him for everything, but now that he thought about it, he was doing something for Master Bing. Would Master Bing mistreat him if he did well? But on the other hand, would Master Bing let him go if he didn't? Yuchu broke out in a cold sweat at the thought. Jean bro, look at what you're saying. We're brothers. We're doing this for the common good. Don't worry. I'll do my best. Mao Sheng smiled coldly inwardly. You're just dragging this out if I don't scare you. You're not even doing your best, he said with a smile. Yuchu bro, what are you talking about? That old fox Pengzhan's starting to get suspicious after what happened last time, and he's been shrinking the company's power. My father's in a very passive position. Then, what should we do now? Yuchu thought, I can't interfere with your company's business, so why are you telling me this? If something happens to Pengzhan's daughter, he probably won't be in the mood to manage the company anymore. Will he? Mao Sheng said faintly, Man, the sky's the limit. Isn't that right, Yuchu bro? Yuchu paused, knowing that Mao Sheng was going to play hard. He was a desperado, after all. How many of Zihua Bro's underlings weren't? Don't worry, Jean bro. I know what to do. It won't be long before the bad news gets out. Yuchu said straightforwardly. Killing someone by accident was actually a lot easier than kidnapping. That's it then. I'll wait for the news. Mao Sheng said as he hung up. Yuchu wouldn't know what was going on if he didn't give him a heads up. Of course, Yuchu wasn't going to act rashly after agreeing to Mao Sheng's request. He had to ask Zihua first. Zihua bro, it's Lil Yuchu, Yuchu said as he dialed up Zihua's number. Lil Yuchu, why were you calling at this hour? Don't you know I'm sleeping? Zihua slept during the day and worked at night. This was something all his lackeys knew. He only turned his phone on during the day because he didn't want his boss to come looking for him. Sihua bro, Jean Maoshing's calling. He wants me to kill that Meng Yao girl. Yuchu said, relaying Maoshing's message to Sihua. Oh, I'll leave that to you. Don't get into a head-on confrontation. There's a master around that girl. Just cause an accident, Sihua said offhandedly. After all, a human life was nothing to him. Also, Master Bing's almost here. We need to hurry up. Pengzhan Industries Real Estate Company is our gift to Master Bing. Yes, Sihua bro. I'll do it then. With Sihua's confirmation, Yuchu didn't have to worry about anything anymore. As far as Yuchu was concerned, that Lin Yi by Menyao's side didn't matter how strong he was. As long as they didn't get into a head-on confrontation, Meng Yao could be killed with some dirty tricks. Chapter 252. Falling down, Lin Yi went back to the villa to find Meng Yao and Yushu sitting in the living room, not watching TV. It was the same as the day they'd taught him a lesson. Shield bro, Yao Yao's getting jealous. Be careful. Yushu was sitting on the sofa, eating an orange. She called out to him as he walked in. Shu. Meng Yao glared at Yushu. What are you talking about? What do you mean I'm jealous? Oh, Yao Yao's angry. Shield bro, good luck then. I'll stop talking. Yushu shut her mouth, as if she hadn't said anything. Shu you. Meng Yao had wanted to teach Lin Yi a lesson at first, but Yushu's interruption made her lose the mood. She glared at Yushu. Shu, did you fall in love with Lin Yi after confessing your feelings to him? Why else would you cover for him? Oh, Yao Yao, do you want me to fall in love with him? Yushu said nonchalantly as she ate a piece of orange. You and I are going to marry the same man anyway. Meng Yao really wanted to stand up and kick Yushu into space. She was getting further and further away from the topic. She looked at Lin Yi's nonchalant face, and Meng Yao's interest waned. He could do whatever he wanted. What did it have to do with her? He could flirt with girls or fool around as long as he didn't interfere with her business and Pin Liang didn't harass her. He'd done his job. Meng Yao waved her hand, annoyed. Lin Yi, just pay attention to your image in school. I don't care what happens between you and Tang Yun, just don't let Pin Liang harass me. Oh, don't worry about that. That guy can't even take care of himself. He won't harass you. Lin Yi nodded. All right, it's fine. But you have to tell me before you go out next time. Otherwise, I won't be able to find you if I need you. Meng Yao didn't know what was wrong with her. Did she care that Lin Yi was with another girl? Or did she care that he wasn't professional enough to be her follower? Okay, Lin Yi nodded without thinking. The relationship between Lin Yi and Meng Yao was much more harmonious now, and Lin Yi cherished this mission. He didn't know what it was, but since this mission was enough to feed him for the rest of his life, and his old man allowed him to settle down in Songshan, no matter what, Lin Yi would do his best to complete this mission. I'll leave you to your work then. Shu and I are going to watch the concert. There's food in the kitchen we've already eaten. You can eat if you want. Meng Yao waved at Lin Yi, signaling him to leave. Yao Yao sis, didn't you say you were angry and wanted to go bungee jumping this weekend? Why'd you stop talking about pushing Shield Bro down the valley? Yushu interjected. Shu, Meng Yao was just saying it out of anger. There was no way she'd push Lin Yi down the valley. That'd be murder. Wouldn't it? She glared at Yushu. What's in that head of yours? I was just saying it out of anger. How could you take it seriously? I want to go bungee jumping, too. Maybe we won't push Shield Bro down the valley. We'll just go bungee jumping? Yushu looked at Meng Yao. Lin Yi shook his head. Yushu was a top-class clown. After all, with her around, the war in this house would never happen. However, Lin Yi didn't expect Meng Yao to be so angry that she wanted to push him down the valley. Meng Yao was a little embarrassed by Yushu's words. She coughed. Lin Yi, don't listen to Shu. I didn't mean to push you. Oh, It's fine if you push me a little. Lin Yi thought to himself. The Mrs. Pushing wasn't bad either. What did you say? Meng Yao didn't hear it clearly. Nothing. Lin Yi didn't dare repeat himself. Yao, Shield Bro said that he wants you to push him down. Yushu heard it clearly, but her words were always powerful. Wah. Meng Yao blinked, blushing as she understood what Yushu meant by push him down. It wasn't like she didn't interact with the outside world, and even a young girl would know what that word meant. What did you say, Lin Yi? I only said it's fine if I push him a little. Lin Yi sweated. That was what he meant, but he didn't say it like that. With my skills, I won't die even if I push him down. Meng Yao frowned as she thought about what Lin Yi said. He did say something like, it's fine, not push him down. She turned to Yushu. Yushu got up from the sofa, wanting to run away, but her legs were numb from standing cross-legged the whole time. She lost her balance and fell off the sofa. Lin Yi. Meng Yao was startled. She couldn't care less about scolding Yushu anymore. She wanted to pull her up, but she was too slow. Yushu fell to the ground. Meng Yao subconsciously wanted Lin Yi to save her. Lin Yi reached out and caught Yushu. Don't say that word. There's a man here. Meng Yao glared at Yushu. If I don't let him go, am I supposed to let him keep touching you? But Yushu said she couldn't just throw her to the ground. But what? You got touched by that Lin Yi bastard. Why aren't you going after him? Why are you talking about me? Meng Yao looked at Yushu. Chapter 253. Could it be that the fake had become real? Oh, Yao. You're saying that you want him to take responsibility for me? Yushu blinked, confused. Meng Yao didn't know what to say. Aren't you going to get your brother to beat him up? Oh, Shield Bro already touched me once when he pulled me out from the railing. Yushu said, after some thought. Yao. Maybe we should put this on the back burner for now. We won't bother him if he's obedient in the future. Yeah, that's a good idea. Meng Yao naturally agreed. It was Shu who was touched, not her. If Shu didn't mind, what did she have to mind? I saved you twice. Lin Yi wasn't too happy about it. He'd saved Yushu twice already, and this girl still wanted to bother him. Oh, forget it then. We'll call it even then. But Shield Bro, why don't you come bungee jumping with us this weekend? I haven't done it before. You can come with us. Yushu didn't mind at all. She had a handle on Lin Yi, so it didn't really matter anymore. No problem. Lin Yi wanted to reject her at first, but he'd touched Yushu anymore. He'd flirted with the Miss Best Friend right in front of her. He'd be lucky if Meng Yao didn't come after him. Bungee jumping was nothing to him. Meng Yao didn't know what Yushu was thinking. She waited until Lin Yi went to eat before whispering to her. Shu, do you really like Lin Yi now? No. Yushu mumbled as she chewed on her orange. No? You let him touch you? Meng Yao frowned as she sighed inwardly. Her best friend was most likely under Lin Yi's spell. Otherwise, why wouldn't she react to his touch? He didn't do it on purpose. Yushu found it strange. As well, she didn't seem to dislike Shield Bro at all. She didn't want to beat him up to vent her anger after being touched. Instead, she was more interested in studying bungee jumping, as if being touched wasn't that important. Meng Yao didn't know what to say, this bestie of hers. Could it be that she'd fallen for Lin Yi after confessing to Lin Yi once? Did the two of them turn their act into reality? Just like before, Zhang Tongtian crossed his legs and dialed Sun Jingyi's number, as if victory was already in his grasp. Hello? Is it Miss Sun? From Zhang Tongtian's point of view, Sun Jingyi was the meat in his mouth. Unless Sun Jingyi didn't want to continue doing business in Songsan, her reputation would definitely be ruined this time. With Zhang Tongtian's connections in Songsan, he was familiar with many reporters. As long as this video was leaked, Sun Jingyi's company would be done for. Not only would they face punishment from the relevant departments, but most importantly, no one would do business with their company in the future. Who would want to do business with an unsafe company like this? Purchasing managers in those companies were all lucrative jobs. Everyone knew what was going on. They would get a commission if they did business with other companies. So why would they go to a company like Sun Jingyi? However, Zhang Tongtian didn't know about Sun Jingyi's background. In fact, Sun Jingyi came to Songshan alone, not because she wanted to rely on her family's background, but because she wanted to leave House Sun. Sun Jingyi didn't want to think about the Sun's faces at all. They were a family, but they were fighting to the death for her grandpa's assets. Her grandpa wasn't even dead yet. And who knew what would happen when he passed away? Sun Jingyi's parents passed away early, and she grew up with her grandpa. Just because she was a little closer to her grandpa, the other sons saw her as the public enemy number one, trying to take away the family's property. It made Sun Jingyi very uncomfortable, and she had no choice but to leave the city and make her own way. Manager Zhang, what's the matter? Sun Jingyi got the memory card, so she naturally wouldn't be afraid of Zhang Tongtian anymore. She picked up the phone, and she wasn't as nervous as before. Miss Sun, have you forgotten? Today, I'm going to hold a small press conference to expose the inside story of some companies in the industry that don't follow the rules of business, disrupt the order of the industry, and cause unhealthy practices. Zhang Tongtian said. Miss Sun, would you be interested in attending? Tongtian smiled coldly inwardly. Jingyi, this is your last chance. You better know what's good for you, or I'll leak this video to the press conference and ruin your company's reputation. Tongtian thought. Oh, why wouldn't I go if Mr. Zhang invited me? Jingyi said faintly, what time and where? Lin Yi asked. At 9 o'clock this morning in the conference room of my company. I think it's better for Miss Sun to come earlier and discuss the contents of the press conference with me. Zhang Tongtian hinted, I'm sorry, I'm afraid I have something to do here. I can't go in advance. It's good enough that I'm on time. Sun Jingyi was puzzled. Didn't Zhang Tongtian find that the memory card had been lost? Why did he still look like he had one? Did he have a backup? No, Sun Jingyi heard that Zhang Tongtian was a computer illiterate, so she dared to let Lin Yi take the risk to steal the memory card. Because Zhang Tongtian didn't know how to use a computer or a camera at all. This video was recorded by a private detective. After watching it, he had put it in his handbag. Sun Jingyi's guess was right. To be on the safe side, Zhang Tongtian took a look at the video recorder this morning. When he found that the memory card was still on it, he was relieved. He didn't know how to play with such a sophisticated thing, so he didn't open it to see what was going on. Zhang Tongtian was a vulgar person, and he was only good at interpersonal relationships. So although the company sold computers, he couldn't even find the power button of the computer. Well, I hope Miss Sun won't regret it. Zhang Tongtian snorted coldly and hung up the phone. He thought to himself, teach, don't be so shameless. I'll make you cry later. At 9 o'clock, Sun Jingyi appeared in Zhang Tongtian's conference room late. Zhang Tongtian's face was very bad, and there was a trace of ruthlessness in his eyes. This woman could really keep her cool, but he didn't know if she would still be so calm after watching the video. Zhang Tongtian had made up his mind. Since Sun Jingyi didn't know how to appreciate his kindness, he could only let her taste the price of rejecting him. Miss Sun, you're very late. Zhang Tongtian nodded to Sun Jingyi indifferently. Mr. Zhang, what does it matter if I come early or late for your company's press conference? Sun Jingyi said lightly. Well, Miss Sun, please take a seat. Zhang Tongtian sneered and sat on the rostrum of the conference room. Chapter 254. Who will be ruined? Chapter 254. Who will be ruined? But since Sun Jingyi hadn't gone back on her words, Zhang Tongtian didn't mind ruining her reputation. Zhang Tongtian cleared his throat and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my small press conference. Everyone here is either a journalist friend or a friend of the same profession. Let's skip the pleasantries and get straight to the point. Director Zhang, we're all ready." A reporter who knew the news pointed the camera at the big screen in the conference room. "All right, I'll say it then." Zhang Tongtian nodded. "Today, I'm going to expose a scum in the industry. This person has ruined the morals of our industry and is leading the way in the wrong direction. What do you think we should do with someone like this? Get rid of the black sheep. How can someone like this be a traitor?" One of the industry insiders stood up and said, "Yes, Director Zhang, hurry up and expose it. We're all waiting. We want to see who this person is. How can someone who's worse than pigs and dogs be a traitor?" Another person stood up and raised his arms. Actually, there were only a few people who spoke. They'd all gotten a hint from Zhang Tongtian. Most of them were just here to watch the show and wouldn't get involved. "All right, Secretary Li, go and play this video." Zhang Tongtian handed the video recorder to his secretary. This was the first time he'd given the camera to his secretary. Before this, he wouldn't let anyone touch it. Firstly, Zhang Tongtian was afraid that the video would be leaked out too early. If that happened, it would lose its effect as a threat to Sun Jingyi. If it was leaked out, Sun Jingyi wouldn't agree to his request. Secondly, he didn't trust the people around him. He was afraid that Sun Jingyi would bribe the people around her to delete the video. If that happened, he'd have hired a private detective to record the video for nothing. That was why Zhang Tongtian took out the camera now. "Everyone, please watch the video." Zhang Tongtian waited for Secretary Li to connect the camera to the big TV in the conference room, then gestured for everyone to watch. Suddenly, the sound of a man and a woman moaning came from the TV. Many TVs played the sound first before the image, and the image was always a second later than the sound. Therefore, everyone was very curious. What kind of video was this? Zhang Tongtian was also very puzzled. When he watched this video, there didn't seem to be such a sound. While everyone was wondering, two naked figures appeared on the TV screen. The man was fat, and the woman was voluptuous. However, why did the man look so familiar? Everyone's eyes fell on Zhang Tongtian, because the male lead of the video was Zhang Tongtian himself. Sun Jingyi secretly spat and lowered her head. She was a little afraid to look at the picture on the TV, but she was very happy in her heart. The date of the video on the TV was last night, just when Lin Yi went to steal the memory card. Lin Yi said that he played with the camera for a while, so this must have been recorded by Lin Yi. Although she was a little annoyed with Lin Yi's sudden overbearingness yesterday, Sun Jingyi was undoubtedly very refreshed today. He fiercely vented the resentment in his chest. Zhang Tongtian had lost a lot of face today. He was stunned for a while like everyone else, and then his face turned red. "Secretary Li, what is this? What a mess. What did you put there?" "Mr. Zhang, this is the camera you gave me. I connected it directly to the TV." Secretary Li looked innocent. There was a burst of snickering in the conference room. Those reporters who had a relationship with Zhang Tongtian were confused, but those who had no relationship with him were excited. This was a big tidbit of news. "Turn it off! Turn it off!" Zhang Tongtian shouted at Secretary Li angrily. Although Secretary Li felt wronged, he had to quickly turn off the camera and TV. "What's going on? What's going on? How did it become like this?" Zhang Tongtian's face was gloomy and unhappy. "Mr. Zhang, is this your so-called black sheep?" Sun Jingyi sneered and stood up. "You asked us to come here just to watch you perform? With all due respect, I'm sorry, but I have no interest in your indecent video. Goodbye." After that, Sun Jingyi turned around and walked out of the conference room. There was no need to stay here any longer. As for the other people in the same industry, they were too embarrassed to stay any longer. They didn't know what Zhang Tongtian was up to. He had invited everyone here to watch an indecent video of this fat pig. He really had nothing better to do. Was this guy an exhibitionist? Was it to show off his manly charm? Zhang Tongtian looked at the press conference with a gloomy face. He was very unhappy, but there was nothing he could do. He vaguely felt that something was wrong, but he didn't know what was wrong. He didn't understand why the video of Sun Jingyi's staff bribing became an indecent video of himself and his lover. It must be Sun Jingyi. It must be this woman. Although he didn't know what method Sun Jingyi used, his intuition told him that Sun Jingyi definitely had something to do with this. Otherwise, why would Sun Jingyi be so calm? And why did she look like she didn't care? Sun Jingyi, Zhang Tongtian, will never let you go. Zhang Tongtian clenched his fist tightly. Songshan's first high, grade 12, class 5. Lin yawned lazily. In fact, Linny didn't sleep well last night. It was the first time he touched a girl's chest, and it was always unforgettable. He thought that the unforgettable girl would be Tang Yun, but he didn't think that it would be Yushu. Although it was an emergency and he accidentally touched it, it still made Lin Yi's heart throb. To be honest, if Yushu wasn't Minyao's best friend, Lin Yi might have made a move on her. But the problem was it that easy to make a move on the Mrs. Best Friend? Boss, what's wrong? Why do you look so tired? Kong Xiaobo wanted to talk to Lin Yi about Xiaofan, but seeing Lin Yi's listless face, he didn't know if he should say it or not. Xiaobo, if you have something to say, just say it. I'm fine. Lin Yi shook his head. In fact, if Lin Yi wanted to get rid of his fatigue, he only needed to circulate the art of dragon mastery in his body. It was just that Lin Yi wasn't just tired, he wasn't in the mood. Chapter 255. Request for backup, boss. I think that bastard Kong Xiaoming is still in Fun's heart. Xiaobo's fists were clenched tightly as he spoke, his face filled with anger. HM? What do you mean? Lin Yi was startled. Kong Mingming was already so heartless, and yet Xiaofan was still so loyal to him? Are you kidding me? Sigh. Boss, you don't know, but Xiaofan's expression changed when I mentioned Kong Mingming to her. Kong Xiaobo sighed. I think she wants to forget Kong Mingming, but she can't. He's her first man after all, so it's normal for her to remember him. But why doesn't Xiaofan know about Kong Mingming's disgusting face? She knows. Lin Yi said, but as you said, she can't forget that man easily. I think if you let her see Kong Mingming again, she'll be able to let it go. It's best to let her see how heartless Kong Mingming is right now. Boss, won't this agitate Xiaofan? Has her illness just recovered? Kong Xiaobo was worried. Maybe not, but she'll be fine with me by her side. Lin Yi said, if she doesn't face this matter, she'll never be able to walk out of it. You're right. Kong Xiaobo nodded. Boss, I don't have to worry about Xiaofan acting up with you by my side. But where can I meet Kong Mingming? My second grandpa's family has moved to the provincial capital. There'll be a chance, right? Lin Yi said faintly. Xiaobo, you should be more confident now. Don't always treat yourself as a substitute for Kong Mingming. Maybe Xiaofan will slowly accept you this way. If you keep thinking about how you look like your cousin and use it as a method to chase after Xiaofan, then it'll be a little sad. Boss, don't worry. I won't embarrass you. I will definitely deal with Xiaofan. Kong Mingming vowed. You've already decided? You want to be with Xiaofan? Lin Yi asked. It's decided. Boss, I've made up my mind. Xiaobo nodded solemnly. I stayed with Fun at the hospital last night. Ah, it can't be? Lin Yi's eyes went wide. He didn't expect his follower to be even fiercer than he was. All he did was hold Tang Yun's hand and pinch Yushu's boobs, but Kong Xiaobo was already sleeping with them. Sweat, boss, you misunderstood. I'm just accompanying you. Kong Xiaobo was sweating profusely. Nothing happened between us. Lin Yi was speechless. And then, I talk to Xiaofan a lot, and I know what she's thinking, Kong Xiaobo said. Boss, you're right. Xiaofan just won't give up. She knows that it's impossible, but Kong Ming didn't say it to her personally. She still won't give up. Speaking of which, this incident might cause your relationship with your cousin to break up. Are you sure it's okay? Lin Yi asked. Kong Ming did such an inhumane thing, and I still recognize him as my brother? Kong Xiaobo laughed coldly. If it wasn't for second grandpa, I'd go and beat him up right now. You can beat him up, but not now. You don't have that strength yet. Lin Yi attacked Kong Xiaobo. I know. Kong Xiaobo sighed. He's the second young master of House Kong. What am I? A poor relative of Dr. Kong? Zhang Naipeo didn't come to school today. Other than Pin Liang, no one knew where he went. Even Pin Liang's subordinate, Gao Xiaofu, didn't know. He only told the school that he was on sick leave and told his family that he was going to do something big for Pin Liang. After that, he was escorted to Spring Star Mountain by Fabai's men. Pin Liang glared at Lin Yi. You don't need to show off in front of me. When Zhang Naipeo comes back from his studies, I'll see how you die. At that thought, Pin Liang felt a little better. Lin Yi was going to die sooner or later anyway. He'd let him have his fun for a couple of days. He'd let him be happy for a couple of days before he died. And so, Pin Liang looked at Lin Yi with pity. As far as he was concerned, Lin Yi was a dead man. Meng Yao, are you free on Saturday? My dad gave me 3 3D movie tickets. Let's go watch it together? Pin Liang had been urged by his father this morning to hook up with Meng Yao as soon as possible. Otherwise, his uncle Gubang might come up with some plan that he didn't need to cooperate with anymore. House Zhong wouldn't get anything out of it then. And so, Pin Liang started to get close to Meng Yao. I told you not to call me Meng Yao. Do you have ears? Meng Yao was disgusted by Pin Liang calling her so intimately. Pin Liang didn't seem to care at all. He moved his stool over and sat beside Meng Yao. Ha, then I'll call you Yao Yao. Why don't you go die? Meng Yao frowned. Do you have something to do? Yeah, let's go watch a movie together on Saturday. It's the 3D version of Fallen Angel. It's an international blockbuster. Pin Liang said, as he pulled out 3 movie tickets. I'm not free. I have something else on Saturday. Meng Yao rejected immediately. She'd promised Shu to go bungee jumping, so naturally she wouldn't go watch a movie. Even if she didn't go bungee jumping, she wouldn't go watch a movie with Pin Liang. The guy was even more annoying than Lin Yi. HM? Meng Yao paused at the thought. Didn't she think that Lin Yi was more annoying than Pin Liang? Did she change the order already? Meng Yao shook her head. She didn't know what was going on. Then we can go on Sunday. Pin Liang said, not getting tired of it. Meng Yao couldn't take it anymore. She nudged Yushu, signaling her to go to Lin Yi. Yushu smiled and sent a message to Lin Yi. Yao sis is in trouble. I need help. Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he saw Yushu's message, but he stood up anyway. He'd promised Meng Yao yesterday that he'd help her if Pin Liang bothered her. Boss, where are you going? Kong Xiaobo was confused when he saw Lin Yi standing up. I'm going to the washroom. You coming? Lin Yi asked. Yeah. Wait for me. Kong Xiaobo stood up with Lin Yi, but he couldn't help but smile when he saw Pin Liang blocking the way. Pin Liang was in trouble again. Chapter 256. Should you change your seat? Do you have a bad memory? I told you not to gamble. Are you deaf? Lin Yi said coldly from behind Pin Liang. Truth be told, if it weren't for Lin Yi's desire to live a peaceful life in Songshan, Pin Liang would have become a pile of ashes a long time ago. Pin Liang was about to turn around when he heard the voice when he felt his body lighten. He was sent flying with a whoosh, landing on the podium with a loud thud. He let out a cry of pain. You change your seat. It's not suitable for you to sit here. I'll send you flying out of the classroom window next time. Lin, he warned faintly as he kicked Pin Liang's chair away. This kid should know his place and stay away from Meng Yao. He didn't need to be called over by Yushu to help him out every time. Pin Liang glared at Lin Yi, but didn't dare say anything. He knew that whatever he said now would only put him at a disadvantage. And Lin Yi would keep beating him up. He wasn't a match for Lin Yi right now, and the only thing he could do was endure. Pin Liang didn't say anything, and Lin Yi walked past him with a warning. Remember what I said, if you keep sitting in front of me, I'll make sure you're a trapeze artist every day. Pin Liang clenched his teeth. When had he ever been threatened like this before? But this Lin, he was someone he couldn't beat, and even Heibao Bro, who he was so proud of, wasn't a match for him. How could he piss off someone like this? Pin Liang didn't want to change his seat, but Lin Yi had said it. Pin Liang believed that Lin Yi would definitely throw him out if he didn't change his seat. Lin Yi was a madman, arrogant to the point that he didn't care about anything. News of Zhou Ruoming getting slapped in the face by Lin Yi in front of the dean had spread like wildfire. Pin Liang knew that he wasn't a match for a madman like that. It seemed like he'd have to get away from Meng Yao. He'd have to move to a corner if he wanted to get out of that bastard's line of sight. He'd just have to get rid of Lin Yi and switch back. Other than Lin Yi, there was no one else in this class who dared to go against her wishes. Changing seats was just a matter of saying the word. Boss, I'm starting to doubt your background now. Did you really come from the mountains? Kong Xiaobo asked, looking at Lin Yi curiously. One of my elders, a board member of the school board. Lin Yi said, giving a simple explanation of his background. Oh, no wonder. No wonder even the dean of academic affairs couldn't do anything to you. So that's why. Kong Xiaobo said, understanding dawning on him, that luxurious car that sent you to school that morning belonged to that board member? Yeah. Lin Yi nodded. Amazing. Kong Xiaobo said excitedly, I didn't know you had such a powerful background. I thought you were just a poor student like me. Huh? Lin Yi smiled, not bothering to explain. In fact, a powerful background didn't have much of an effect. Wasn't Pin Liang's background powerful? Why didn't he dare act arrogant in front of the dean? At the end of the day, wasn't it because he had Wang Jifeng's weakness? Wang Jifeng couldn't do anything to him. Right, boss, don't you need to go to the washroom? Kong Xiaobo asked curiously, seeing that Lin Yi didn't go to the washroom. I just don't like Pin Liang, and I wanted to teach him a lesson. Lin Yi didn't hide it. He didn't need to go to the washroom at all. Kong Xiaobo would see through him if he went to the washroom, so he just told him the truth. So that's how it is. Ha! Zhong Pin Liang, that arrogant bastard. It's his bad luck to meet the boss. Xiaobo let out a long breath of vengeance, as if he was the one who taught Pin Liang a lesson. Didn't you want to go to the washroom? Lin Yi asked. I saw you coming out, so I wanted to follow you. Fun's matter is bothering me. Kong Xiaobo said. Let's go then. Lin Yi nodded and walked with Kong Xiaobo in the hallway. There weren't many people in the hallway of the 12th grade. Other than the students on duty, everyone else was studying in the classroom. Those whose families had connections or couldn't get into college were playing basketball on the field or playing games outside of school. They wouldn't wander around in the hallway. They walked to the door of Class 5 and saw Tang Yun coming out with a bucket of water. She was probably going to the washroom to change the water. Kong Xiaobo quickly ran over. Sis, let me do it. Tang Yun jumped at Kong Xiaobo and almost dropped the bucket. What did you call me? Sis, Kong Xiaobo said matter-of-factly, yesterday, boss declared his sovereignty over you in front of so many people. Sis, you didn't deny it either. Don't call me that. Tang Yun blushed and handed the bucket to Kong Xiaobo. Go get some water. Oh, haha, okay, Xiaobo said as he took the bucket and ran to the washroom. Don't mind him. He's just like that. Linny put his hands on the wall and surrounded Tang Yun. And I know Tang Yun was a little shy. Don't be like this. We're in school. Lin Yi's action was unintentional. He realized how intimate his action was after hearing Tang Yun's words. It was as if he was going to kiss Tang Yun. He quickly retracted his hand awkwardly. What if we're not in school? Yeah, I'm ignoring you. Tang Yun naturally didn't want to talk about this topic with Lin. Lin Yi's situation had been messing with her mind for the past 2 days. Especially last night, she hadn't been able to sleep at all. The image of Lin Yi holding her hand and slapping Zhou Huaming's face kept flashing in her mind. Did this mean that she liked him? Tang Yun didn't know, but she couldn't stop herself from thinking about it. Lin Yi smiled and stopped teasing her. Tang Yun was different from Sun Jingyi in Lin Yi's heart. Sun Jingyi was a cunning fox. Lin Yi wouldn't spoil her. However, he only cared about Tang Yun. Look at Xiaobo. Something happened. Tang Yun was panicking. She looked around, afraid that people would see her and Lin Yi together. Kong Xiaobo was in trouble. Chapter 257. Is a confession considered a boyfriend? Kong Xiaobo naturally wasn't the fatty's opponent and stumbled from the impact. But that wasn't all. Coincidentally, the dirty water in the bucket spilled all over the fatty's pants, as if he'd just peed his pants. Do you have eyes? The fatty was enraged. He'd gone to the washroom to smoke a cigarette, only to be splashed with dirty water. It infuriated him. Do you want to die? This fatty was a little tyrant in the 3rd year of high school. Of course, the little tyrant was only a little famous in the grade. Compared to the 4 big bullies in the school, he was simply not on the same level. However, it was very normal for the little tyrant to show off in front of ordinary students. And so, the fat little tyrant treated Kong Xiaobo as a target to vent his anger on. How can you blame me for this? At most, we're both in the wrong. Why didn't you keep an eye on it? Kong Xiaobo was a little angry. He wasn't an unreasonable person. He was just about to apologize when the fatty started scolding him. Keep an eye on it? You Dafa, haven't even kept an eye on who's passing by. Which class are you from? Don't you know me? The fat little tyrant glared at Kong Xiaobo. You Dafa? Kong Xiaobo paused. He took a closer look at the person in front of him. It really was Yudafa, but there was a trace of disdain in his heart. He looked at the bucket in his hand. There was still some dirty water left. Kong Xiaobo picked it up and poured it on Yudafa's head. You don't want to live anymore, do you? Yudafa was furious as he pointed at Kong Xiaobo. Hurry up and scram. My boss and sister-in-law are waiting for me to fetch water. I won't care if my boss comes over if you continue to dawdle. Kong Xiaobo pushed Yudafa's hand to the side. Your boss and sister-in-law. Yudafa was stunned. He was a little confused. It's right behind me. Kong Xiaobo pointed behind him. Yudafa looked in the direction Kong Xiaobo was pointing and saw Lin Yi and Tang Yun standing not too far away. His legs cramped, and he almost fell to the ground. Brother, you said that Brother Lin Yi is your boss? Yudafa's tone toward Kong Xiaobo suddenly became polite. Who didn't know Lin Yi? He was one of the big 4 young thugs in the new school. He was vaguely above the other 2 young thugs and had become the leader of the new generation. How could he, Yudafa, afford to offend such a person? The first of the 4 big bullies had already graduated and became a legend, and the last one was a demon from the middle school department. After staying in the school for a few days, he had turned the school upside down. Although he had already transferred out, he was still listed as one of the legends of the 4 big bullies. Now, there were only 2 of the big 4 left, but they were completely trampled by Lin Yi. Lin Yi had become the leader of the new generation of Big 4, and Yudafa, who was a little tyrant at his age, didn't dare to offend him. He knew that he wasn't a match for Pin Liang and Zhou Ruoming, let alone Lin Yi. Of course, I'm Kong Xiaobo, the only follower of my boss. Look closely and be more observant next time. Kong Xiaobo put his hands on his waist and said to Yudafa, Yes, yes. Yudafa nodded quickly. Go get me a bucket of water. Kong Xiaobo handed the bucket to Yudafa. I'll go right now. Yudafa felt that it was an honor to be able to do something for Lin Yi. He could brag about it in the future. Lin Yi had asked him to do something before, so Lin Yi could be considered half his boss now. Yudafa brought the water back to Xiaobo, who was just about to take it when Yudafa spoke up. Bro, I can't let you do this. I'll bring it to the boss myself. Kong Xiaobo nodded and sighed. His status had risen along with Lin Yi. If it weren't for Lin Yi, would Yudafa give him so much face? In the past, it would be good enough if Yudafa didn't beat him up, let alone bring water. Yudafa brought the bucket to Lin Yi and Tang Yun. Boss, sis-in-law, the water is here? You are? Lin Yi looked at Yudafa suspiciously. He didn't know this person. Where did he come from? Boss, I'm Yudafa, the leader of the 12th grade. Of course, compared to Boss Lin Yi, I'm nothing. Yudafa introduced himself. Oh, Lin Yi nodded. All right, I got it. You can go now. Thank you. You're welcome, boss. If you need anything, you can find me anytime. I'm in the 30th grade, Yudafa said respectfully. Tang Yun didn't think that the evil Yudafa would show his loyalty to Lin Yi. She was confused. The most embarrassing thing was that he called her sis-in-law. Tang Yun still remembered the love letter Yudafa wrote to her. It was so disgusting and explicit, but in the blink of an eye, it became subservient. All of this was because of Lin Yi, the boy who transferred here less than a month ago. I'm going back. I need to clean the windows. Tang Yin picked up the bucket on the ground and said to Lin Yi and Kong Xiaobo, Okay, go. Lin Yi nodded and went back to the classroom with Kong Xiaobo. Pin Liang obediently moved to Gao Xiaofu's side. It was a corner of the classroom, far away from Lin Yi. He was afraid that Lin Yi would turn him into a flying man. Yao sis, I think Shield Bro is too handsome. Yushu pulled Mingyao's arm. Look at Pin Liang. He moved away after being scared by him. You don't have to worry about being harassed anymore. Yeah, he's so handsome. Let him touch your boobs. Meng Yao pouted. Yao sis, are you jealous? Why don't you let him touch you next time? Yushu said with a smile. I'm not an idiot. Meng Yao glared at Yushu. Is he my boyfriend? Why should I let him touch me? If you want to be touched, then go ahead. Oh, Shield Bro accepted my confession. He's my boyfriend now, right? Yushu mumbled to herself. It wasn't a loss for her to let him touch her boobs. Yes, that's it. Meng Yao was going crazy from Yushu. Was there something wrong with her friend's head? Was there anyone like her? It was Saturday morning, and Lin Yi was woken up by Yushu's slap. Shield Bro, wake up. We're going to the theme park today. Theme park? It was only then that Lin Yi remembered that he'd promised the miss and Shu to go bungee jumping. He got up in a daze, washed up, and put on a fresh set of clothes. He walked out of the room to find Meng Yao and Yushu ready. You drive Shu's Beetle and follow us. Shu, and I will sit in my car, Meng Yao ordered after looking at Lin Yi. Chapter 258. Suspicion of an insider. Lin Yi drove quietly behind Meng Yao's Audi S5, glancing at the rearview mirror from time to time. Following them again? Tiwa's men? A cold smile formed on Lin Yi's lips. It was the same car that tailed him last time. Did they really think he wouldn't be able to detect them with this kind of tracking technology? Tihua was quite the daring one, wasn't he? 2 of his men died last time, so who was he going to send this time? As a result, Lin Yi didn't get out of the car to ask. He pretended like he didn't know anything as he followed behind Meng Yao. Lin Yi wouldn't mind giving them another car accident if the black SUV dared to make a move. Songshan's theme park was located in the southern district of Songshan. Built at the end of the 2000 years, it was one of the more famous theme parks in the province. Meng Yao parked the car in the park's underground parking lot, and Lin Yi parked at the side as well. He followed Meng Yao into the elevator when Lin Yi saw the black SUV following them turn into the parking lot as well. What surprised Lin Yi was that the SUV didn't have a parking card, instead showing a small plastic ID to the toll booth at the entrance. Lin Yi found it odd. Did this SUV have something to do with the theme park? Yao, where does this theme park belong to? Public or private? Lin Yi asked casually. Public and private? Why do you ask? Meng Yao didn't understand what Lin Yi was getting at. Public and private? Which company invested in it? Lin Yi didn't let go of the topic that easily. Shield bro, it's Uncle Chu's business. Yushu blurted out. Oh. Lin Yi blinked. Could it be that someone from Pengzhan Industries was in the SUV? That was the only way to explain why. There was no charge in the underground parking lot. The SUV wasn't a military vehicle, just a regular license plate. It wouldn't be free parking if it wasn't related to the theme park. Daddy's company invested in it, but it's always been managed by a subsidiary company, Meng Yao said. Then can we park here for free? Lin Yi asked. Meng Yao looked at Lin Yi as if he was an alien. She might be a miss, but calling Faubert just for a few kwai parking fee was too much trouble. Wasn't it? Ah. Lin Yi smiled faintly. The people in the MPV behind him probably weren't lacking in money, either. Who would be short on parking fees if they were able to wrestle with Pengzhan? However, being able to park for free was also a symbol of status and privilege. The people in the car probably thought so too. Lin Yi had guessed correctly. In the SUV, Zhang Yuzhou was all smiles as he looked at Mao Shim. Jean bro, you're amazing. You don't even need to pay for parking. This amusement park was originally invested and built by the company, and I happen to be in charge of it, Mao Shim said nonchalantly as he put away his ID. Since I have this privilege, of course I'll use it. You're right, Yuzhou said with a laugh. But since this is Jean Bro's territory, it'll be even easier. I was worried about not knowing where to start, but it's no problem now. I didn't think they'd come to the amusement park, Mao Shim said with a cold smile on his lips. There's a few of my confidants here. We can ask them for help later. Confidants, won't they spill the beans? Yuzhou was a little worried. After all, they were going to kill someone today. Spill? Humph. Let's give them some guts. Mao Shim said disdainfully. They're the ones helping me get money, and the amount of money they've embezzled is a death sentence. Then it's fine. Yuzhou nodded. They were on the same boat now, so there was no need to worry about them betraying him. Find someone smart enough to follow the three of them and report their location. We'll see what we can do to create an accident. Mao Shim said to Yuzhou. No problem. Yuzhou said to an inconspicuous young man in the car. Ma, you go. Yes, Yuzhou bro. The young man said as he got out of the car and quickly followed. A cold light flashed through Mao Shim's eyes. He was the cautious type, and he didn't know much about this Ma youngster's background. He'd seen him today. Mao Shim's first thought was to get rid of this Ma as soon as this was over. He couldn't let the guy cause him any trouble at all. The person behind Sihua had eyes and ears everywhere, but he wouldn't stand up for Master Bing if something were to happen. Master Bing was his bastard son, but his wife's family wasn't to be messed with either. It'd be troublesome to raise an illegitimate child this big. Mao Shim knew that, and so he always kept a backup plan in place. Yao, are we going bungee jumping now? Yushu was looking forward to it. The amusement park was Pengzhan's property, but the two of them had only been here once when it was first building. The bungee jumping valley hadn't been built yet. bungee jumping as soon as we got here? Meng Yao had been holding back for the past few days and wanted to vent her frustrations, but bungee jumping as soon as they got to the amusement park wasn't something she could handle. After all, bungee jumping was dangerous and exhausting, and Meng Yao wanted to explore the other parts of the park first. Let's explore then. Right? Yao Yao, why don't we go to the haunted house first? I heard that there's a new haunted house here. It's really scary. Yushu suggested. Haunted house? Meng Yao frowned. Why would Yushu want to go to such a childish place? Haunted house? Who was she trying to scare? It was all fake stuff. What was there to see? Yeah, it's really scary. I heard that a lot of young couples go there, and when their girlfriends get scared, they get to take advantage of them. Yushu said with a straight face. Shu, are you an idiot? Meng Yao was speechless. Then why don't you go with Lin Yi and let him take advantage of you? No, I'm not scared, but I think you'll be scared, Yao Yao. Yushu said. Me. Scared? Meng Yao was even more speechless. You think I'll be scared of kid stuff? If that's the case, then let's go. Let's see who's scared. But Shu, I'm telling you, don't get upset when he takes advantage of you. Hee hee, Yao Yao, we don't know who gets taken advantage of yet. Yushu said with a smile. She'd secretly watched the recording of Pinliang's haunted house before, and naturally, she wasn't that scared. Chapter 259. Pretending to be a ghost Ma, who'd been following Meng Yao and Yushu from afar, heard their conversation as well. Naturally, Lin Yi had noticed Ma coming but didn't want to startle him. As far as he was concerned, Ma wasn't much of a threat at all. Might as well let him tag along and see what he was up to. Who knew he might even be able to lure out the mastermind? He was just a small character, and Lin Yi killing him wouldn't affect the mastermind at all. The guy wasn't even a third of a golden class. He was just an errand boy. Yuchu bro, it sounds like they're going to the haunted house. Ma's mission was to report Meng Yao and the others' movements to Mao Xing and Zhang Yuchu. Haunted house? I got it. Yuchu said, I'll discuss it with Jean bro. I'll tell you what to do. Mao Xing had heard Ma's words through the walkie-talkie as well, but he hadn't figured out what kind of accident he could create in the haunted house yet. Assassinations were out of the question, and that would only draw the police in faster. That wasn't something he wanted to see. Get Ma to go to the ticket counter first, tell them to slow down the sales. Don't let Meng Yao and the others go in immediately. Mao Xing said after some thought. All right. Yuchu relayed Mao Xing's message to Ma. Jean bro, what should we do now? What kind of accident do you think could kill people in a haunted house? Mao Xing decided to discuss it with Yuchu. Inside the haunted house, Yuchu couldn't think of any good ideas. There's nothing else in the haunted house other than scaring people. It's all fake stuff. Scaring people. Mao Xing cackled. All of a sudden. I got it. Haha. Let's go pretend to be ghosts and scare them to death. What do you think? That's a good idea. The things in there are all dead. Although it's scary, it's nothing. But if we pretend to be ghosts and shout their names, they will probably. Hee. Yuchu nodded in agreement. Isn't there a saying that goes, don't you remember? It was so scary that it scared people to death. That's what it means. Let's go. Let's go get ready. Don't scare those two girls to death. Mao Xing smiled darkly. He'd only been suggesting it casually. But Yuchu's approval had moved him. That's right. Scaring people to death. This is an old saying. It shouldn't be wrong. Why does this haunted house only let 3 or 4 people in at a time? Meng Yao looked at the entrance of the haunted house impatiently. There were still 3 or 4 groups of people waiting in front of her. Who knew how long it would take for them to get there? If he had known earlier, he would have asked Faubert to come and give him a heads up, saving him from having to wait for so long. Isn't it too late for a good show? Yushu, on the other hand, didn't mind. You know what, Yao Yao? The 2 couples who went in just now were pale with fright. You'll be like that too, Meng Yao said, annoyed. Why don't we stop playing and go watch something else? Let's wait a little longer. It'll be our turn in another 2 or 3 groups. Yushu didn't want to give up just like that. Yao Yao, think about it. It's scarier when there's only a few people in the haunted house. What's the point if there's too many visitors? If there's too many people and too few ghosts, then are the ghosts scaring the people, or the people scaring the ghosts? There's no point in that. That's true. Meng Yao was starting to agree with Yushu's reasoning. Indeed, if there were too many people, then there'd be no time for ghosts. In the control room at the back of the haunted house, Mao Sheng, Zhang Yuzhou, and Ma had all changed into their costumes. Mao Sheng was a vampire, Zhang Yuzhou was a zombie, and Ma was a faceless man with something stuck to his face. Get ready, call the people in front. They don't need to come in. Just tell Meng Yao to come in directly. Yuchu said to Ma. Yes. Ma was already a faceless man, and his speech was a little sluggish. He took out his phone and dialed a number. You guys can go now. Outside the haunted house, the 2 groups of people waiting in front of Meng Yao's group suddenly spoke up after receiving a call. We're not waiting anymore. It's too slow. Let's go and play something else. Yeah, it's so slow. I don't want to watch anymore. Let's go. Another person immediately echoed, and so the 2 groups of people turned around and left without any hesitation. Yao Yao, is there something wrong with them? They've been waiting in line for so long. It's almost their turn, and they're leaving? Yushu looked at the 2 groups of people as if they were idiots. Who knows? But it's good that they're leaving. It'll be our turn soon. Meng Yao was a little troubled as well, but it was a good thing that they were leaving. They didn't have to wait anymore. Lin Yi, on the other hand, looked at the 2 groups of people coldly, a cold smile on his lips. Making a move already? Inside the haunted house? Next. The worker opened the door and looked at Meng Yao's group. Is that you guys? Are the 3 of you together? Yes. Is it our turn? Meng Yao asked. We're here. Give me the tickets and you can go in. The staff took the ticket from Meng Yao's hand and threw it into the box without even looking at it, making Lin Yi look down on them. They didn't even know how to put on an act. Were they in such a hurry to get them in? Meng Yao, Yushu, and Lin Yi entered the haunted house one after another, and the door slammed shut behind them. Meng Yao couldn't help but shiver. She knew it was fake, but the creepy atmosphere in the haunted house still made her shiver. Shoo, hold on to me. Don't run around. It's pretty scary in here. Meng Yao tried to maintain the demeanor of a big sister, but there was a hint of fear in her voice. She wanted Yushu to hold on to her, so that Yushu wouldn't be afraid, but anyone could tell that Meng Yao was just putting on a brave front. Hee. Yao Yao, are you scared? Yushu wasn't a coward. She wasn't scared even after hearing the screams. Who said I'm scared? Meng Yao wouldn't admit that she was scared. These things are fake, they're just scaring people. What's there to be scared of? Let's go. Lin Yi, follow behind us. Don't go too far. Chapter 260, Yushu Ghost Catcher, Part 1. Back in the primeval forest, every step taken was filled with poisonous beasts and venomous bugs. That was the real deal, but these things were nothing in Lin Yi's eyes. How could someone who'd lived in that kind of environment be afraid of ghosts? Ugh. An old lady with blood dripping from her eyes floated past Meng Yao's eyes. Meng Yao was startled, grabbing onto Yushu's hand tightly. She regretted coming here if she'd known how scary this thing was. Heh. Yao Yao, it's a lie. Yushu's hand went through the old lady's body. See, it's fake, right? It's just a 3D slideshow. Oh. Meng Yao calmed down after seeing Yushu's demonstration. And this was only the beginning. The deeper they went, the scarier it got. Other than the ghosts that would appear out of nowhere, there were also some zombies jumping out of the coffins, making Meow's heart skip a beat. Whoosh! A zombie with pus all over its body sat up abruptly, shooting a jet of black blood at Meow. Ah! Meow screamed as she backed away subconsciously, bumping into Lin Yi. What are you doing behind me? Didn't you tell me to follow you? Lin Yi shrugged. It's fake. It's just a mist of light. Oh. Meow was a little embarrassed. It was true that she'd told Lin Yi to stand behind her because she was afraid that something might ambush them from behind. But after Lin Yi's explanation, Meow realized that the blood sword was just an illusion. It wasn't real at all. After a couple of scares, Meow's courage started to grow. What was there to be afraid of? She could see it, but she couldn't touch it. What was there to be afraid of? Meow watched as Yushu waved her hands around to catch the monsters, and she let loose as well. She started punching and kicking like Yushu, having fun. Pack. Meow felt someone slap her arrowhead, thinking that it was Lin Yi. Lin Yi, what are you doing? Don't mess around, I'm having fun. Pack. That hand slapped Meow again, pissing her off. She turned her head to the side. Lin Yi, you... Ah. Meow shrieked as she saw a faceless man patting her shoulder. Of course, the faceless man wasn't scary. What was scary was that the faceless man's hand wasn't an illusion, but a real slap on his body. Yao, sis, what's wrong? Yushu was in the middle of fighting the ghost when she heard Meow scream. She turned around to see a faceless person patting Meow's shoulder. Yushu was a little puzzled. Weren't the things in here illusions? Why wasn't the faceless man one? Yushu quickly walked over to Meow's side and reached out to touch the faceless man's face. I can touch it. Did you get an actual item? I'm a faceless man. I'm going to eat you all. Ma growled in a low voice, frustrated that Yushu was grabbing him. Yuchu Bro was only asking him to play along, so he didn't dare act rashly. Lin Yi, on the other hand, looked at Ma interested. Lin Yi could tell from the faceless man's shoes that it was Ma, the one who'd been tailing them all this time. He had a rough idea of what they were up to. These people were really ruthless, trying to scare Meow to death by pretending to be ghosts. What were they thinking? Didn't they know that Meow had a clown by her side? Even if Meow was a coward, there was no way she'd be scared to death by Yushu. But even if this Ma was weak, and Lin Yi could tell that he was just pretending to be a ghost, Lin Yi still kept his guard up. If this Ma did anything to harm Meow, Lin Yi would be the first to act. Lin Yi didn't think that they'd do something like that in the haunted house. If they did, they wouldn't have to wait until they were in the haunted house. They could do it anywhere else. Yao, sis, look at this faceless man. He's pretty good at it. Look at how thick his face is. He can even pull... Yushu said, as she pulled on the faceless man's face with all her might, stretching it out a few centimeters. Ouch. Ma almost teared up from the pain. Why wasn't this girl afraid of him? How dare she pinch a ghost's face? How dare she? Is that so? Meow wasn't scared anymore. She reached out and pulled on the other half of the faceless man's face, and both sides of Ma's face were pulled up at the same time. His mouth was pulled into the shape of a ladle, and he couldn't scream even if he wanted to. Whoa. I'm a faceless man. I'm going to eat you all? Ma was on the verge of crying. Can't you say something else to scare people? Yushu was a little speechless. Yao, sis, get out of the way. I'll kill him. Oh, okay. Meow dodged to the side, but Yushu raised her leg and kicked the faceless man's crotch. Ma's eyes rolled back, and he fainted from the pain. Hey. Yushu waved her hands in the air excitedly. Yao, I'm so good. I killed a faceless man. Shu, can't you kick this model until it's broken? Why isn't he moving? Meow naturally didn't think that the faceless man was a person. She thought that it was a model that Yushu's kick had stopped working. Ugh. It's fine. It's your daddy's theme park. Someone will fix it even if it's broken, Yushu said after some thought. That's true. Meng Yao didn't really mind. She didn't care about something as small as this. After all, as far as she was concerned, she could just throw it away. Not far away, Mao Xing's face twitched a couple of times, and Yuchu was sweating as well. Wasn't this girl a little too much? Not only did she pinch Ma's face, but she also did a climax kick to the groin, cutting off Ma's lineage. Jean, bro, what do we do? Yuchu was a little nervous. Looks like we'll have to go a little harder, Mao Xing said with a cold smile. Let's go. Yushu continued swinging her fists at the monsters after taking care of the faceless man, only to realize that the other faceless man was the only one that was real. She couldn't touch them at all. Lin Yi looked at Ma pitifully, feeling a chill in his heart. This Yushu girl sure was ruthless. He hadn't even made a move, and Ma was crippled by her kick. Chapter 261. Chapter 261. Yushu Ghost Hunter, Part 2. Meng Yao jumped in fright. How did this zombie know her name? She didn't care about the other zombies, but this zombie was shouting her name. How could she not be afraid? Yushu was puzzled. Yao Yao. Is this zombie intelligent? It even knows your name? How would I know? Shoo, I'm a little scared. Meng Yao was starting to feel weird. How did this zombie know her name? Maybe the staff of the amusement park recognized you as Uncle Chu's daughter and changed the procedure to please you? Yushu thought about it. It was the only possibility. She couldn't think of any other possibilities, since there was no need to register one's name when buying a ticket. Shoo, I'm a little scared. Let's go. Meng Yao didn't want to stay here any longer. The things here were making her uncomfortable. It's fine. Yao Yao. Let me help you get rid of this zombie. Yushu, on the other hand, charged at the zombie excitedly. La la la, I'm a little expert at ghost hunting. Yushu rushed to the zombie's side and stomped down hard on the zombie's instep, causing Yushu to howl in pain as he bounced to the side on his tiptoes. Much faster than before. Yay! Yao Yao. Look, I beat the zombie away, Yushu said with a triumphant smile on her face as she watched the zombie run away. What a good program design. Let's get Uncle Chu to praise him. This zombie can still run away after getting stepped on. Meng Yao was amused by Yushu. She now believed Yushu's conjecture that someone must have recognized her identity as Miss Chu and purposely changed the haunted house's computer program to please her. Meng Yao's eyes lit up at the sight of Yushu. Meng Yao wasn't that scared anymore after Yushu's teasing. She turned to Lin Yi as she watched the zombie run away faster than a rabbit. Lin Yi, go catch that zombie for me. Okay. Lin Yi nodded. Yu Chu Zhang immediately cursed inwardly. Could it be that this lady is thinking of some kind of trick to mess with me again? He was just about to speed up and leave this place when he felt someone grab him by the back of his neck. His body lightened, and he was sent flying, landing heavily at Meng Yao and Yushu's feet. Ha! The zombies are back. Yao Yao sis, let's continue playing zombies. With that, Yushu jumped up from the ground and stomped on Yuchu's stomach with both feet, stomping and kicking it. Yuchu let out a blood-curdling scream. He felt as if his intestines were about to be trampled out. His eyes rolled back from the pain, and he fainted. Boring, Yushu said as she jumped down after stomping on the zombie a couple more times. This zombie's quality is really bad. I only stepped on it a couple of times, and it's already broken. I wonder which company made it. Tell Uncle Chu to complain about them. Ha. Meng Yao found it funny. That was a model for the haunted house. It'd be a wonder if it wasn't broken after you stepped on it. Mao Xing looked at Yuchu, a black line forming on his forehead. Why was this Yushu girl even fiercer than that Lin Yi bodyguard? His plan was basically ruined by Yushu, and there was no point in trying to scare Meng Yao anymore. Meng Yao wouldn't be scared anymore. Mao Shen was a little resentful. Meng Yao was clearly afraid of ghosts, and she was already terrified when Ma patted her. If he and Yu Chu had cooperated, Meng Yao would have been scared out of her wits. In actuality, he could tell that Meng Yao was really scared of these things, but Yu Chu just had to start messing around with Ma the moment he appeared. Not only did she break Ma's line, but Zhang Yuxing's intestines had probably shifted as well. What the hell was going on? Getting stepped on instead of pretending to be a ghost. Was there anything that unlucky in this world? Could it be even more unlucky? His plan of scaring Meng Yao to death wasn't going to work anymore, and Mao Shen looked a little regretful. Still, he wouldn't continue with something he couldn't do. There was no point in pretending to be a ghost anymore, and he decided to leave first. He'd have to figure out the next step of his plan. He had to kill Meng Yao today. Mao Shen turned to leave when he heard Yu Shu's angry yell. "Where are you going, vampire?" Mao Shen's vision darkened, and he almost fell to the ground. Why wasn't she letting him run? Mao Shen was about to speed up his footsteps and ignore the girl when something smashed into the back of his head with a loud thud, followed by a wave of pain as he fell to the ground, staggering. Yeah, one hit. That vampire's too weak. Yushu was dancing with joy as she tossed out one of the zombie's shoes. "Shoe? Why is there blood on the back of that vampire's head?" Meng Yao asked curiously as she looked at the fallen Mao Shen. "It looks real, I guess." Yushu didn't know what was going on, but she didn't mind. "Who cares? Let's go. Yao Yao. We'll continue hunting ghosts." "Oh, okay." Meng Yao nodded as she followed Yushu. Lin Yi looked at the two on the ground, speechless. These two idiots were just too unlucky to be treated as toys by Yushu. There weren't any more ghosts for Yushu to kill, and she was still looking forward to it even after they left the haunted house. "Only 3 ghosts, that's a little too little. Yao Yao, can you suggest to Uncle Chu that we add a few more? We'll come again next time." "I did, but you broke them again, didn't you?" Meng Yao still hadn't realized that those 3 were real people, not props. Yushu stuck her tongue out. "I regret not bringing a DV. I could have recorded it and let people see how cool I look when I fight ghosts." This trip to the haunted house took about an hour. Including the time they had spent waiting, it was almost noon. "Yao Yao, should we go eat something first, or go bungee jumping first?" Yushu was a little hungry. "Let's eat first. I'm a little hungry too." Meng Yao was a little tired after going around the haunted house. There were a lot of fast food restaurants in the amusement park, and Meng Yao and Yushu found a place with a decent ambience and found a place to sit down. You're tuning into the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.